Oh,
Oh, I do. But not a personal.
Yeah.
Just a label. Just a title. Just like
oh man. Sir.
A surgeon, right?
bring my one from work.
Surgeon lieutenant, right?
No, he said, oh wait,
Like a
what was it?
crime.
You know, it's a lot of.
Detective lieutenant, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. But director lieutenant's kind of, oh, cool. He's a director.
I know.
Detective.
I feel like in a
I can bring my one from work and we'll just stack them.
true crime series here, man.
You get on the whole list when you address. So, George. Okay.
Ooh.
There it is. Okay. I'll let Tom get his copy.
If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. James, will you lead us in the pledge today? Since Sean is not here.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order.
Thank you. Agenda, Pine Mountain Club Property Owners Association, Inc., Board of Directors, open meeting, Saturday, July 18th, 2026, 10 a.m., Condor Room. Members are free to speak on a specific agenda item when the board chair calls for discussion on that item. If you would like to bring up a topic that is not listed on today's agenda, the appropriate time to do so is during the members' open forum. This meeting is being recorded to provide access to members and to aid the recording secretary in preparing the minutes. To ensure a respectful and constructive environment for everyone, we kindly ask that all comments be shared in a courteous manner and remain free of personal, argumentative, and disruptive remarks or gestures. Thank you for helping us maintain a positive and inclusive space for community dialogue. Call to order. Debbie Bailey.
Here.
Can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay, better.
Okay. Mark Blethyn.
Here.
Madison Bardorf, that's me. Thomas Seglia.
Here.
Sean Coulter is excused. James Dixon.
Here.
Nicole Gates.
Here.
Randall Gates.
Here.
And Andrea Schoening.
Here.
Adopt the agenda. Resolve that the agenda for the Board of Directors meeting July 18th, 2026 be adopted.
Second.
Second by Jim.
Okay.
Discussion? All right. All those in favor of adopting the agenda for today?
Aye.
All right.
All right, approval of minutes. Motion to approve the draft minutes of the Board of Directors regular open board meeting of June 20th, 2026, and the special open board meeting of July 6th, 2026.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that Jim?
I think it was Jim.
Okay.
Second.
Both of you. Discussion?
I'm assuming the new directors recuse themselves from the June meeting and only vote on the July meeting.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. So
We'll split it.
there are 5 of us. I will be a voting member in this case to approve the minutes. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Yeah,
Abstain.
the new directors are abstaining because they weren't present for this portion of the open meeting in June.
Are we having a separate vote for the July? Okay. We have 2 sets of minutes, so are we going to have a separate vote for the July minutes? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out protocol here. We
Yeah,
just,
we'll
we just had 5 directors for the June meeting.
I see your point because new directors can approve. Okay, so let's do an additional motion for the July 6th special open meeting where we approved our insurance renewal and all directors may participate. Is there any, do I have a second on the motion? Okay. Any discussion on the approval of the minutes for our special open meeting July 6th? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes for July 6th?
Aye.
Right, including Debbie, thank you.
Yes.
Right. All PMC POA governing documents affected by approved resolutions and motions in these minutes have been updated to reflect the approved changes. All right, consent agenda. Consent agenda opportunity for public comment. All items listed under consent agenda items are considered to be routine and non-controversial. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone in the audience, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member to address the board concerning the item before action is taken.
Second.
Second by Randall. Discussion? Debbie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my objection is limited to certain committee appointments. And since we're going to group these together, I'm going to be voting no. I just wanted that on the record.
Okay, that's noted. Thank you for clarification. Further discussion by board members? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Okay, so all those opposed? Okay, so we have two opposed, Jim and Debbie.
Okay.
All right, the motion carries. We may continue.
Okay. All right, officer reports, chair's report.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to those joining online. Thank you for being here today. As you may have seen in our most recent email announcement, the new PMC POA website is now live and can be accessed at www.pinemountainclub.org. Please follow the instructions on the login page to create your password for the member portal. If you previously had a password on the old website, all passwords have been reset, and you will need to create a new one. And follow those instructions carefully because there's a small detail that interfered with even my own login, so I'm hoping you all read more carefully than I do. Members may now pay their annual assessments online. As a reminder, the deadline to pay your assessment in full and avoid having your account sent to collections while incurring associated fees and interest charges is September 15th. However, we encourage you to submit payment well before the deadline. Timely payments help the association maintain a healthy cash flow, meet its financial obligations, and continue providing the services our community depends upon. As always, members who prefer to pay in person may continue to do so by visiting the front desk. You may also submit your payment by depositing it into the drop box located outside the clubhouse lobby door. One benefit of the new online payment system is the ability to schedule recurring payments. This allows members to spread the cost of future annual assessments into monthly payments throughout the year. Although the annual assessment amount is established each July 1, the beginning of the new fiscal year, and may therefore change from year to year, the system will automatically track payments and maintains an up-to-date record of each member's account balance and payment history. Last month was a very busy month for both our staff and volunteers. I'm grateful to the strong participation in this year's election and extend my sincere thanks to everyone who took the time to vote. I also want to thank each member who submitted their candidacy. It's encouraging to see so many individuals willing to volunteer their time, energy, and expertise in service to our community. The association is a complex organization, and much of what we accomplish depends upon the dedication of community volunteers working collaboratively with management and staff. Our board of directors plays a central role in that effort, but we are supported by the commitment of our volunteer committee members. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our returning and newly elected board members, our committee volunteers, and our dedicated staff. The continued improvement, maintenance, and preservation of Pine Mountain Club is truly a collective effort. We each play an important role, and I look forward to continuing to work together in service of our community and shared goals. In closing, I would like to address something that has become increasingly apparent within our community, especially during this recent election and post-election season. There are, in many ways, two different versions of Pine Mountain Club. There's the community we experience in person each day, the collective environment of neighbors helping neighbors, people coming together to enjoy the place many of us call home. Then there's the version that sometimes is found on social media, where depending on what page or group you follow, you might come away believing our community is defined by conflict and dysfunction. Information itself is neutral. Communication, however, can either build understanding or be used to create confusion, division, and distrust. In every community, there are times when information is presented not to solve problems, but seemingly to create chaos or advance a particular agenda. The board cannot control what individuals choose to post on social media. What we can control is how we conduct ourselves with integrity, transparency, and a commitment to making decisions in the best interests of the association and its members. For that reason, I encourage members not to react to chaos, but to seek facts. If you have questions, please ask. If something concerns you, please contact management or the board through our official channels of communication. If there is a problem that needs to be solved, we want to hear about it directly. Our goal is to resolve issues, not to engage in public conflict. I would also ask members to consider when individuals have concerns about management or the board, why one would choose social media as the first avenue, rather than communicating directly with those responsible for addressing any issue. It's fair to wonder whether the objective is to find a solution or simply to generate controversy. While constructive criticism is always welcome, meaningful solutions begin with direct communication. The board and management cannot address what is not brought to its attention. On that note, there will be occasions when the board cannot publicly respond to allegations, particularly when they involve confidential personnel matters. California law requires employee confidentiality, and that obligation exists to protect both employees and the association. However, our inability to publicly discuss individual personnel matters should not be interpreted as an absence of care or action. It simply reflects our legal and ethical responsibility to handle sensitive matters appropriately. Management and your board of directors are here to serve this membership. We only ask that you give us the benefit of the doubt as we continue working to restore trust, accountability, and integrity within this association. Responsible, lasting change takes time, and we are grateful for the support and patience so many of you have shown as we continue that work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
General Manager's report.
Good morning, everyone. Big thank you for joining us today. Whether you're here in person or tuning in via Zoom, it's great to see our community come together once again for the POA meeting. 14 months in my HOA tour duty. Summer continues to drive our pace, maintaining our extensive areas of responsibility, plus new initiatives and programs to improve our ops. Before I proceed, George, please hit it.
Good, Josh.
Okay. 70s night again tonight. It was very successful last year. Great turnout. So it's that time again, get the polyester white suits and angel fight slacks out. And disco, thank you. Thank you, George. Several admin updates. Employee of the month, we'll keep this going. It's great. May, we had Savan Messian, post office employee. June was Linda Glover, HR. And this month, Michael Franco is our employee of the month. He's a member of the maintenance team. He's also stepped up as a safety team member and also certified as a pool attendant. So we have three or four folks now certified in pool operations to ensure we're doing those things correctly. Credit card processing from the accounting office. We talked about it last month, but in an effort to reduce manual labor resulting from past practices, a lot of it was a detour that caused about a 6-month delay and, from an incompatible software. But moving forward now, George Esparza took the initiative during our recent North Star upgrade to get our merchant IDs uploaded and set up. We're ready for testing now, and so that's a great job. It's going to result in efficient resource management. Quarterly newsletter. Our admin officer, Leilani Zielinski, has spearheaded our transition from a monthly to quarterly, working closely with our marketing and communications committee. So big thanks to Leilani, Tim Repsher, Lauren Vella, and Gail Carroll Coe. The majority feedback thus far has been positive, but there's always room for improvement. If you have content ideas for the newsletter, please reach out to marketing@pmcpoa.com. Website is live, as the chair noted. Special thanks to Zane Scott, our web developer, Leilani Zielinski, our admin officer, and again, the communications committee, Gail and Lauren, and the chair, and many other user testers. It was a great joint effort. Thank you. On to operations. Ending June, after clearing 35 of our POA-owned lots for fire mitigation, the maintenance team has kept momentum, addressing remaining areas of responsibility. The team's actively working our roadways now. The overhang that's occurring to prevent damage and further encroachment for upcoming weather events, storms, winter. They're also addressing natural wash-off areas that result in landslide and debris. So they know the roads, they know the areas that become the problem, and we're gonna address that before it becomes a bigger issue, sorry. Next, asphalt repair. The plan will be sent out by email and posted on our new website, identifying the roads impacted by closure and the schedule to help members plan for appointments and other needs. Lastly, signage is one of our initiatives to improve our messaging, enforcement of the lake, fire prevention, bear feeding, and more. The POA staff collaborated with board directors, patrol, bear, and emergency preparedness committees on the messaging. So new signs will be out there. Golf course, the Southern California Golf Association is gonna rate our course. Dates are pending. The SCGA rating is SoCal's local implementation of the World Handicap System, the USGA. It's a free evaluation, course rating, and slope rating, which help golfers manage their handicap or score, which differs by course. I'll cover more golf updates in the Greens and Grounds Committee update. But the owl boxes, we don't have any owls moved in yet, so just, I'm keeping a close eye. Hopefully we'll get some cool photos, get a bunch of owls out there helping us out.
pool is still open. Let's talk pool. First, we continue to address any technical issues, including some of the end items or major components. The shower leaks I'm aware of, the need for a softener for the entire pool system. So we're taking those next steps to coordinate a comprehensive assessment for a permanent fix for all issues going forward. So that's gonna be a project. Now let's talk about extending the pool season. I know that's been mentioned pretty much all year. I'm all for it, and we'll closely monitor all operational costs with primary focus on propane costs and usage comparisons from previous years and, year over against this year's budget. A big factor is the current summer temperatures working in our favor, so let's keep it open as long as possible. Sorry, George. Labor Day celebration in conjunction with our Concert on the Greens, we're planning a larger fun-filled event, which will include vendors, food and products, family entertainment, in an effort to provide a fun end of the season. It'll be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we're gonna push back on Oktoberfest. That was kind of the initial goal this year. I was all for that too, but we're gonna push it to next year so we can better plan it, have resources lined up to have that be a successful event and really understand the cost and investment on that. Condor Lounge and Restaurant, current improvement initiatives are still underway. New menu options are gonna be reviewed very soon. Reduction of liquor inventory and focusing on vendor management by comparing costs of our vendors against wholesale purchasing, as long as it can it can be delivered, sorry. I think we're gonna see some very good improvement there. I'm very focused on that. Supplier management, vendor management, that is something I've done a lot of. The changes we intend to make will be purely data-driven. So we're looking at the data, data leads the way. What are we selling? What are we not selling? We have the data. So we will review the data. Data will drive the decisions. But I want to add, cafe breakfast options are great, prepared by our own Jacob Mowry. He's got great breakfast burritos. I highly recommend our cafe. Anybody out there, if you haven't come in for breakfast, I would recommend it. We have very good options there. Equestrian Center. We talked about it last month, the new equestrian youth programs that Lori Harmon put together. The application window opened July 15th. So last month, or as long as I can remember, I had it on my calendar just as an all-day event. And on the 15th, Lori came right in my office early. I wasn't ready. But 3 hours later, we got it all submitted. We got everything done. We're now waiting for approval. It should be a few weeks. So that's exciting, very exciting. Also, one of our boarders mentioned another homeschool program, iLead. L-E-A-D, iLead, to Lori. And so we made a quick phone call to that organization, and we got the ball rolling on that too. It's referral-based. So we have all the information. We can just insert our application data and hopefully be approved in 2 programs. Also, this will be, as a result of these programs and the potential, this is gonna be an amazing year. Great job, and I can't thank Lori enough for the work that she put into it. She did 99.9% of all the work on this in developing the programs, promoting it on our website, Facebook, and through these meetings. Any charter school parents in the community, please visit our equestrian center if you have any questions to understand what we're about to embark on. Another added bonus this year, we're starting off this year great. The hay price went from $18.75 per ton down to $15.25. So annual purchase, likely from a $43,000 annual purchase could drop down to $27K. And that's through inventory reconciliation and just a stronger, inventory management and just understanding usage. But literally that just, kind of dropped in our lap. It's great for all of us. especially the borders. Ongoing update on the TIMCO, Model 435 regenerative street sweeper. So this has been a very long item to carry and to keep on my radar to seek the best recourse and options that'll benefit the membership. I asked for a buyback. We had a buyback last year of 160,000. It's now dropped to 156,000. Didn't assume it was going to go down, but this is really where we're at as far as a buyback. Are there other options being discussed? Certainly. We have other options. Fire mitigation. The town hall took place on July 11th. I was invited to present. It was great. Ted Peters from the Emergency Preparedness Committee lined everything up for that. The chair, Andrew Jones, was there. Discussed various topics, from our plan, our activities and efforts of what we're trying to accomplish here. It included all our areas of responsibility, resources, our partnerships, initiatives. We had Captain Nicholas Young from the Department Wildlife Fire Plan team, and Steve Watkins from the field team also presented. And then Ted finished up the presentation and represented the current Fire Safe Council as a former member. On the recap, I'll keep the link to the PMC digital fire map. It's gone a little, it's kind of slowed down on the map efforts, so I have reached out. I think it's a resource issue, so I reached out to one of our fellow members who is also a GIS expert, James Douglas, our RSN lead, and he's willing to help us. So, we will hopefully this year have a complete map. I don't know how far back we can go, but if we can get a few years back, current work, and then any future work we'll be working on, and it'll be an active current map that we can actually have in hand. It should help us understand what's being done, where it's being done, where it needs to be reworked for the maintenance plan, and then also solicit for more grant work. Greenbelt summary, $50K budgeted every year. Well, ending June, we spent 77% of that at 38,456. Our goal this year is to not only spend all of it, but I've also requested to Chief Kennison regarding our CAL FIRE grant of $867,000. I've asked him to match our 50K so that, in an effort to essentially, double, triple production and work that can be done. Clubhouse, current update. Roof, we have 3 bids, 4 pending. For flooring, we have 1 bid, 3 pending. HVAC, we're gonna do an HVAC assessment first, and that'll be in conjunction with the siding bids. Ceiling, we're getting options identified from removal of the material to painting to also utilizing a covering. So we'll get multiple options in front of the EC committee. The process will be to present our quote analysis sheet that we have in place, and we'll have all the bids reflected on this quote sheet, submit it to the Environmental Controls Committee for analysis, review, and recommendations, which will then go to the board. Committees, please join a committee if you're interested. I meet a lot of folks, and I hear a lot of interest. I think if we just continue to promote the committee need, there's a lot of interested folks out there. So if you're interested, please reach out to us, the business office, and join our team. We need you. Safety update. I just added a quick note. I wrote down e-bikes. We had unfortunately, we had an accident a day or so ago, and it was a child on an e-bike got hit by a car. And, I think he had a broken, I think he was injured, not seriously, but I'm seeing a lot of it, and they're very fast, you know, adults, teenagers, whatever, but parents, please supervise that. You know, e-bikes are gonna continue to be, you know, very popular, very cool, but very dangerous. And let's keep everybody safe, especially juniors and toddlers and teenagers, you know, so that we don't have a very unfortunate event. Safety update. Besides that, number one focus for our team members is heat injury prevention. So we're working on that to make sure we have enough PPE or anything to augment safety for prevention of heat injuries. Thanks for your support. Drive safely, 25 miles per hour throughout our community. Thank you.
Good stuff, James.
Thank you. Treasurer's report.
All right, sound check, we're okay. George just put up the draft treasurer's report for June 30th. This is a different month, handled differently in that in preparation for the audit, we have new auditors as well, which will be interesting. It'll be an improvement. George keeps the books open all the way through the end of August, as you want to get proper cutoff, and the only way to do that is to examine, to do your best at fiscal year end. At the same time, look at what comes through incoming and outgoing the next 2 months to make sure that everything was properly accrued. A lot of times you're looking to make sure liabilities weren't not properly recorded. So that draft stamp will stay there until probably late September, October. Yeah, so basically George won't submit final numbers for the auditors until we have the cutoff properly determined, which would be the end of August, and then the financials won't really be finalized until it's been blessed or we have any other adjustments that come through from the auditors. So with that preamble, the Budget and Finance Committee didn't have a quorum, although we went through this in detail last Wednesday. Even though not officially, there's no recommendation, and that wouldn't be relevant anyhow because the numbers aren't ready to be ratified, which I'll be removing that motion shortly. I think I'm caught up to date here. George, can you put the second slide up, just to recap, because I know it's probably easier for people. No, just the top one. Can we, all right, well, basically, very little has changed other than one item, which is the only one I want to address very quickly. If in this shorter table at the top there, you can see our incoming funds are below budget by $147,000. That's been discussed in prior months. That's the improper budgeting last year for interest income and the decrease in sales revenues for basically the lounge and food service. That really hasn't changed much. What's changed this month for June? We have, basically, we're still we're way above budget by $187,000. It was projected to be a deficit of $48,000. We're still showing a surplus of basically $39,000. So we're still ahead of budget, but the operating expense number moved up in June, and economy's tight. We have a greater than usual increase in assessment delinquencies. And this has been watched, but a lot of times this remedies itself by the time we get to June. That isn't necessarily happening. A preliminary evaluation by George resulted in a $194,000 accrual for potentially uncollectible assessments. And that also includes related interest and legal costs associated with those assessments. When something goes into collection, it starts getting very expensive. Uncollected assessments total $295,000 at June 30th. And that's $161,000 or 86% increased over the prior year. So this is not a minor issue. 44 of the 173 delinquencies, which is 87,000, 44 of those have forbearance agreements, where you go talk to the Best Alliance and you agree on a payment plan. Unfortunately, only 6 of those are in compliance with their forbearance agreements, 7,000. 38 members who committed to forbearance agreements, which is basically payment plans, so much down, so much a month, that's 80,000, are in default to the agreed upon forbearance payment plan. So management and the board is taking a very deep look at all these issues. It's nothing anybody takes lightly. These are properties, and at the same time, we fund the association through member assessments. When someone doesn't pay, it falls on the remaining members to ultimately pay a little bit more. So unpaid, I mentioned legal and interest and legal costs. The amount of that, which has also been factored into this accrual, it's 127,000 of costs incurred for Best Alliance, for credit services and interest. And not in the event a delinquency results in a foreclosure, we're required to pay these fees. So this hits our bottom line, and it has been doing so for years. But it's more obvious. The numbers are greater this year. If we foreclose on a lot, we have a basis in that lot, which we're not going to recover until that lot sells, which could be years. So there's a lot of effort to help the members. As you heard, you can pay timely, you can pay monthly, you can set up recurring payments online. I understand times are tight, but it doesn't get easier when it goes to the Best Alliance credit service. And on the light onto, okay, and forgot to mention, of the 173 assessment delinquencies, this is a bit surprising, 100 of them have homes. Normally, one would expect these would be just vacant lots. Ideally, those with homes will find a way to become current and stop this process. If there's no senior lien on a property, ultimately we get paid, but it's many years down the line. So really the best remedy is helping members stay current, not be faced with one big payment, and not be delinquent, because it just gets more expensive at that point. So we're doing a deeper dive on this 194,000 accrual, and the expectation is it will be reduced, but it started off with the most conservative number for this point. We're looking at, actually I should say George is looking at identifying the properties with homes, identifying if there are senior liens or if we're primary. Really, a lot of data is needed to make a more intelligent decision on, again, proper financial disclosure at the end of the year, proper accrual for what might be uncollectible or what might just be a delay but is fully collectible. I'm going to skim over the other items because I have an addendum this month. Very little is, basically we've discussed food and beverage, we discussed general administrative the last time. Cash balances, we have 1.5 million in operating cash, and the reserve fund cash balance is 5.266 million. So we are well funded. George has, when you see the financials in detail, there's a separate category for the cash equivalents, treasury bill investments, which are being managed well and are very convenient, and getting us basically, what's the increased yield? Yeah, we're getting about 1.4% greater yield. Instead of 2.2% on our insured cash sweeps, we're pretty much averaging 3.6% now, and no fees, no commissions. And easy to, if we need the funds, it'd be easy to have them available. So thank you, George. Good work. We've discussed the receivables. Reserve fund is sitting there with plenty of funds. When all these bids come in, we're ready to get to work. At that point, I need to withdraw I have a hopefully brief addendum I want to bring up, but I want to withdraw the motion to ratify the May and June 2026 financials, as they are not yet in a position to be ratified, as I explained. We have a second?
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Jim.
Seconds.
Oh, wait, we had 2 seconds?
Second.
I'll give it to you, Tom. Just, Jim, you know, he's
Your third.
participating so far. Yeah, well, 3 seconds.
Occasionally we have split seconds. Yeah. But Sean's not here.
1 second.
So I'm withdrawing that, and I need to go into a brief
We
discussion.
would need to vote.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
Is there any discussion on
on withdrawing the motion.
the motion? All those in favor of withdrawing the approval of May and June financials as stated by the treasurer? All right, I see Debbie.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to, a little detour here, a little addendum to the normal process, because we've had a lot of questions with the new board, the new year. You know, what it means to keep this association affordable, managed consistently with few surprises, and how that would occur with the years of extensively deferred maintenance that are around us everywhere. So we have a challenge. And here are some of the issues I believe that are relevant to the question. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. It'll be in print as an addendum to my more full treasurer's report and the board recap. But as George has put up, chart 1, most importantly, how to keep the costs of this association under control. To me, the most important is to understand and comply with the laws, regulations, and rules governing this community. Those are phrases you're going to hear a lot in this right now. Understand and comply. We need to know where the limits are of our authority, what can be done, what can't be done. We need to comply, period. All spending is subject to our governing documents and Davis-Sterling Act regulations, regardless of one's viewpoint. And any and all POA boards have a fiduciary duty not to exceed the legal restrictions on member assessments or deviate from the authorized use of those dollars once invested. Once invested, once assessed. So that's the umbrella over how I believe we can keep the cost of this association under better control. Chart 1, funding in excess of limits, which was the purpose of the one I just discussed. I'm going to use the now infamous street sweeper purchase as an example, even though you can see it's only one item on that chart. Excuse me. We spent $136,000 more than was in the reserve. If you read the little footnotes, it was purchased for $238,000, and there was only $102,000 in our reserve. You can't take an upgrade and pay for it out of the reserve. That's not what the money was there for. Both our reserve funding policy, which is now bylaw 1012, and the Davis-Sterling Act are very clear. Reserve funds may not be used to finance discretionary upgrades. It's been our policy for years. That was a discretionary upgrade. Thank you. Thank you, George. Cheers. Reserve funds are intended to pay for like replacement of existing components. The additional $136,000 attributable to the sweeper upgrade should have been treated as a special assessment. I know that's somewhat of a frightening word, but we're going to work on that, rather than be paid from reserve funds. Had the matter been handled transparently with the justification for the upgrade disclosed and discussed in open session, another ongoing theme, members would have been presented with a special assessment, see the number to the right on the per member column, of $47, which is actually what the members did pay. They just didn't know it. That process would have provided the opportunity, but had it been presented as a special assessment and not just paid for out of reserve funds, like a savings account, opportunity for the board and the members to evaluate whether that expenditure was justified before that was voted upon. Instead, it was the entire $238,000 were paid for in reserves, and there was no further discussion. If we spend more reserves than we're put, okay, we put money in the reserves with a budget. If we spend 136,000 more, we've now taken away from all the other items in the reserve fund. And guess what? The members in the next month, the next year's assessment, have to refund the reserve. So it gets paid for by the members. It isn't just money sitting there that we can spend. If it's in the reserve because we need the money to take care of our assets, and if we take too much, well, the intelligent algorithm that drives our annual reserve contribution is going to say, we need more. So it isn't free. It comes with a cost. Before I go to the rest of the items, I'll keep that up for now because I want to address some of the others. I want to address budget surpluses first, and then I'll go through the 4 items there. In addition to excessive use of reserve funds in the past year, there has also been the issue of failing to properly manage budget surpluses. As I've alluded to prior to that, there was a massive tax exposure, which I think we've gotten past at this point because the auditor didn't bring it up, but that you are essentially taxable on budget surpluses you do not immediately put back into the next year's assessment. So that ship, we've dodged a bullet there. But budget surpluses have not been managed properly. When members are assessed, they are provided with an operating budget that justifies the cost underlying the assessment. The only allowable use of a budget surplus, i.e. we ask for your money and we explain why we need your money, we have more left over, other than placing it in the reserve fund, which is an option that has been removed now, only for tax purposes and for the association, our own policies is to credit the next year's assessment, lowering whatever the members have to pay. So when I look at budget surpluses being used, if they're not being used to reduce the members' payment the next year, that affects you directly. Hopefully this will make sense. Chart 1, which we already looked at, summarizes past budget surpluses. Yeah, if we can go back to one there. Thank you, George. And thanks for the water. Chart 1 summarizes past budget surpluses and excessive reserve use that exceeded the threshold for a special assessment. All but the purchase of the street sweeper exceeded the 5% legal requirement for a member vote. This is not things to take casually. Please look at the extensive deferred maintenance of our facilities over the past decade. Ask yourself, how much just the $695,000 spent on planning for a massive capital expansion could have better been utilized, and the enormous difference it would have made in maintaining and improving the existing amenities. That's a lot of cash. It's an awful lot of cash. Operating budget surplus is the first column on the left. You just can't spend those to put for capital additions or improvements. It's just not allowable. And again, it's a tax exposure which we've ducked. That's $1 million. I'll take it line, but so phase 1 and 2, we all, phase the pool, that's our pool and the ADA ramps and all that. Footnote 1, 709,000 of our reserves were used in the pool in phase 1 and 2. There was only 204,000 in the reserve fund for the pool and spa and all the components. That's $500,000 that should have been funded differently. So that's basically $341 per member. Phase 3 through 6, we've talked about, that's the infamous 700,000, which is actually 695. According to my calculations, every billable lot here paid $240 for that excursion. Where we do have a pool, phases 3 through 6, that money is just gone. So you had 450,000 of blanket reserve use. There's no category in there for planning an unapproved project. And budget surpluses, as I said, weren't even an allowable item. Askin Building, post office I've discussed before, that was paid for entirely out of, not surpluses, well, it was paid out of operating funds for a current year, and it wasn't in the budget, and it couldn't have been in the budget because it's not an operating expense. You can't buy a building with operating funds. So Askin, we've already talked about before, and there, I do have some of the links at the end of this addendum that will, if people want to revisit some of the details. Street sweeper, again, there's no free money. If you spend $136,000 more of reserves without discussion and understanding, then you've depleted the reserves, and the members have to put more money in the reserves in their annual assessment to get the reserves up to the level where they are now, which is quite good. I believe, what, 93%, George? Yeah, okay. So, sorry guys, So we've covered reserves, the rule of law, reserves, cash, budget surpluses. Finally, no applause, chart 2. We need to have a clear understanding and comply. This is my understand and comply theme again, which is really our theme going forward, to make sure the directors and the members have the tools to properly understand. And understand and comply with the Davis-Sterling Acts.
Randall, can I interrupt you for 1 second? I think there is disturbance in the back row.
Oh.
And interruptions during the treasurer's report, impacting other members' ability to hear the information clearly. If we could please
Okay.
maintain respect at this time, it would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Understand and comply with Davis-Sterling Act's special assessment protections. This is a word that I guess evokes fear, but I think it's been misunderstood and basically mishandled. Chart 2 is a 10-year summary, wonderful, sorry guys, of assessments and budget surpluses. You can see the year, you can see how much the change was and what the resulting assessment was. You can see the total dollar assessment for that year. You can see that for the past 10 years, assessments have increased $1.7 million, 43%. And then you look around us, and it's not clear where that's gone. The surplus for those years, I'll go into my discussion here. It's surplus for those years was the amount in excess. I take 2020 for example. The assessment went up 402,000. That same year, we had now had 469,000 of surplus. Those surplus funds are what went into all these capital improvements. So I just want to say it was convenient that we kept generating surplus funds, but we managed to spend them. They didn't go back into the next year's, reduce your next year's assessment, which is where they should go. So again, I put it on a per lot basis, but it adds up. Prior to the current year budget, which you can see, is that on the bottom there for George? Can you ace it up just a little bit? You can, there we go. There we go. That's the current year where it's reduced, we've reduced it 560,000. Assessments increased, as I said, 1.7 million, or basically $593 for every billable lot. There have, of course, been inflationary factors during this time period. However, the assessment surplus column is after inflation, it's after actual expenses. So demonstrates that an increase that was not justified by inflation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had such an abundant surplus. And what's really hard to calculate is we spent a lot of assessment surpluses during those years. So had those funds been deployed differently, we would have even more surpluses. We've been spending prior years each year there on the chart. In the recent past, TMC POA members have effectively paid the equivalent cost of over $2 million in special assessments, period. That's the two. Sorry. In a process that ignored our own association policies and the legal protections of the Davis-Sterling Act. If you can't pay for it out of budget surpluses, because that's not allowable use, and you can't overspend your reserve fund, which is not allowable use, you got to find a way to pay for it. So the money that we've identified in the first chart, 2.163 million, sorry, I just a lot of paper here. It's essentially what would have had to been properly disclosed in finance through a special assessment or not proceeded with. Davis-Sterling Act, the special assessment are not a fearful thing. If anything, they're a protection which would have provided for additional discussion, disclosure, and likely a requirement for a member vote before these things take place. So if anything, they're a very valuable gating mechanism here to make sure everything stays on track, which is why I'm bringing it up under what does the future look like here. The argument that special assessments somehow cost members more must be put to rest. Special assessments exist to ensure that significant discretionary expenditures are transparent. They weren't. And receive appropriate member consideration. I don't believe they were. When these legal safeguards are bypassed, assessment dollars can be spent without the same level of scrutiny, ultimately leading to higher annual assessments while depriving members of meaningful input and choice. So, in a summary, back to the question that was at hand, how do we keep, I mean, you can see 1.7 million in assessments over those years, not required by inflation. How do we keep on track? And it's easier to recap what we need to not do than it is to what we're going to do. Because really, we just need to follow the rules and know what they are and not exceed them. Number one, use of budget surpluses in our reserves to fund capital additions, expansions. 0. That isn't allowable anymore. The carry forward bylaw is now amended and ratified, has been ratified. There's no choice. If there's a surplus, it goes into the next year. It reduces your next year's assessment. Someone wants to buy a building or expand something that isn't in the budget or the reserves, they got to ask for it and justify it, not just spend the money. Davis-Sterling protections are there for a reason. We need to follow them. Reserve usage beyond their budgeted purpose, where excessive use falls right back on the membership to pay the reserve fund. The excessive use of reserve funds will not be allowed to continue. Here's a big one, and this deals with the roof and the other items we're dealing with, looking at starting a project the association is not prepared to manage properly is a non-start. It can't happen. We have to think it through. We have to anticipate. In this written report, I have another link to the project, phases 1 through 6, project management issues. Exceeding not to exceed overruns, failure to approve contracts in open session, failure to deliver promised features, etc. Take your time, think it through, get it right, have a budget in open session that's approved, no contracts approved outside of open session. And George will diligently monitor compliance with that budget line by line every month. There will not be the surprises. We had to dig out on this 700,000, even on the pool. There was no timely financial reporting or tracking of anything. But bottom line is take your time. Going too fast is not shown to be a very useful approach, especially when dealing with big ticket items. And I don't want to leave out sync, but sync is nearly impossible to quantify. The failed software conversion had devastating impacts to virtually all aspects of the POA. I think we've clarified the IRS audit was probably in response to the fact we couldn't even file our tax return. It was 6 months late. First time we've ever been late. There were no financial data. It couldn't be done. Thank you, Sync. Thank you, George, for finally getting it done. So basically take the time to vet important and serious decisions in open session and consult with several experts before making changes of the scale ever again. And user fees, User fees are there to balance usage when it's not equal across the community. Failure to keep those up to date on a timely basis when underlying costs are increasing places an unnecessary burden on all the members to subsidize that amenity. And it results in it can and will likely result in a major user fee increase when many years of deferred fee increases have not been recognized, and they have to be addressed all at once. And I think you know what I'm referring to there. So basically, this is part of the budget process now. The reserves are in the zero-based budget. Everybody's looking at everything timely. If there is a need for a fee increase, it'll be timely. It won't be 5, 10 years later. No, it should be no big surprises. So back to the question at hand, ongoing cost savings to our members should result simply from following proper disclosure and proper funding requirements and limits, along, of course, with the approval of major projects when required. I hope that wasn't too confusing and too drawn on, but this will be in writing and attached to my treasurer's report. But it's important. The future is going to be managed much differently.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Committee minutes acceptance. The board acknowledges receipt of the Bear Committee minutes from July 2026 and the Planning Committee minutes from June 2026. The EC committee was dark, but we do have to approve an environmental control committee project from last month that we deferred. Mm-hmm.
Do I have a second on the environmental?
Second.
Okay, Andrew seconded. 1 second, sorry guys. Though we don't name in particular projects by address or other underlying description, board members do have the materials that were included last month when the item was deferred. And if there is any discussion on that, please make yourselves known.
Do we need a brief reminder of why it was deferred? This was just because.
Okay, I can fill everyone in. I included a reminder for board members, but for members, the discussion last month included a member email that came to the board requesting that this item be tabled, though it was deferred, based on a concern around agenda language used. The item was noted as a variance on the EC agenda, but it ended up being a build approval. The reason that occurred is because in negotiations during that same meeting, the builder lifted both variances by adjusting their plan, so they were no longer needed, and therefore the plan was approved. So it was correctly noticed in the agenda. In addition to that, I did ask this member to please come forward to speak to the board and share their concerns if it was beyond that, and this member did not respond nor provide any additional input for the board. So at this point, we are going to move forward with the process, so if there's any discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving, oh wait, sorry? Are you?
I'm in favor.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of approving the EC? Okay, all right,
go.
motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, members' open forum. The Board of Directors values and encourages member participation. This 25-minute members' open forum is for members to share thoughts, ideas, or concerns related to our community. Members wishing to speak are kindly asked to step up to the microphone, address the board chair, and state their name, tract, and lot number. Each member will have up to 5 minutes to speak. To help keep the space respectful and productive for all, we ask that comments be shared in a courteous manner, free from offensive or disruptive language. While the board might not respond immediately during the forum, all comments will be thoughtfully noted and referred to the appropriate staff or committee for follow-up as needed. Questions that cannot be fully addressed during the meeting and require additional follow-up may be submitted in writing or emailed to the recording secretary, and the question will be responded to within 15 calendar days upon receipt. In addition, the member's name, tract, and lot number must be included. Thank you for your continued engagement and care for our mountain community.
Sounds?
I'm sorry, I don't know what turn it on.
No, it's on.
It's on. We can hear you.
We can hear you fine. You just can't hear yourself.
Is it on?
Yes. On.
Okay, fine. Finn Migan, 3566362, Chair, Board of Directors. I'm very disappointed. A week ago, I sent the board an email informing you that I had confidential information from Fish and Wildlife, information that could help you solve the bear problem we have. Since it was confidential, I requested we meet in person. How many of you responded? None. Nobody. Not a single one took the time to respond to my email. It could be as simple as, I don't have time to talk to you. We can talk in 2 weeks. That response would have taken 5 seconds. I got none. To be fair, I had a meeting about this issue with Mark and Debbie Bailey. This was before Debbie was elected, so she is introduced. Some of what I'm about to say, I have said before, but we have four new directors, so it's worth to repeat it. You may not think that the bear intrusions are important. Based on the numbers of report of intrusions, I estimate the damage in PMC to be $2 million per year. Fish and Wildlife has told me they think my numbers are low, mainly because many intrusions are not reported. The damage is equal to about half the assessments or more. It is an important matter. What is more important is that Fish and Wildlife gets funding based on how big the problem is. When members in PMC don't report, Fish and Wildlife don't get the funding they need to help us. I have seen this devastating results firsthand last week. Now, I've had probably 20 years of no bear problems, and then all of a sudden this year it exploded. Fish and Wildlife has told me that we have large bears.
Please continue, George is taking care of it.
Fish and Wildlife has told me you have a large increase in bears this year that results in less natural food, so the bears look elsewhere. They look in our homes. In addition, we have bear feeders that makes the problem worse. This year, Fish and Wildlife has captured 2 bears on my property. One of them a really bad dude. Then last week, I had a new one try and break into my house. For 5 days in a week, it came back. And then 1 day this week. I filed the WRR reports but got no reply. So last week, Monday, I called Fish and Wildlife. We had a very good conversation. We talked about the problem in PMC, what we can do, what I can do, and at the end of the conversation, I said, you know, this bear has been here for 5 days in a row. There's only one way to stop it. You have to trap it. She said, I agree,
but we don't have the funds. It costs money to set up a top, and we don't have the money. I can't say the words here, but the initials are WTF. Imagine you call 911 to get police help, and you're told, we don't have the funds to help you. PMC and the board of directors, this is a self-induced problem. It is what we've done that has prevented the funding to Fish and Wildlife. We need to fix it. I have a plan that can fix it. We need to solve the problem, but I can't do it alone. What I mentioned here today is just the tip of the iceberg. I urge you, let's sit down, have a friendly conversation. Let's find solutions that will work. Thank you for your time.
Teresa Mamana, Lot 3402, 518, 519. I'm here to continue to fight the good fight, and it begins with a question, and I would like everyone to consider this because I'm going to come back to it more than once. Why is one amenity in this community held to a standard that no other amenity has to meet? Not a horse question, not a fee question, a governance question. It belongs to every member in this community, whether you have ever set foot in a barn or not. Here's what it's actually written into this association's own strategic plan. The Equestrian Center has to be self-sufficient. The Equestrian Center has a cap on how much this association is allowed to support it. And the Equestrian Center has a clause that if it doesn't hit certain revenue numbers, the board can explore leasing it out to someone else entirely.
Point of order. You're citing the strategic plan, but what you're quoting was member feedback. That is not language of the board or management.
Okay, I'm
Or
gonna
official
finish.
official statement whatsoever. So please, if you would make clear for everyone listening, what you are
I've read the
reading.
strategic plan and it says that.
Well, I will clarify for members then. What you are quoting was member feedback on the open-ended comment section. You are not quoting the board. You are not quoting management.
Well, I'm going to continue on, and you can do whatever you feel the need to do. Go read the section on golf. No self-sufficiency requirement. Go read the pool, no cap. Go read the clubhouse and the bistro, no leasing contingency anywhere for any of them. For context, here's what these amenities cost each member per month according to this association's own budget. Golf, $12 a month. Recreation events, $4.13. The bistro, $3.47. The Equestrian Center, $3.31. The pool, $1.89, and the post office, $1.37, that is. Most members probably aren't even aware of how much this community provides for what amounts to a relatively small monthly cost per amenity. And that's a good thing. It speaks to the value of living here. But it also highlights something difficult to ignore. The Equestrian Center sites near the bottom of that list, and yet it is still the only one carrying a written plan for how it might eventually be disposed of. So ask yourself again, why is one amenity in this community held to a standard no other amenity has to meet? Members have been asking that question for months. Members have raised it during public comment. Board never responded. Members submitted written requests. The board never responded. Members hired an attorney. Attorney Paul Stenson sent this board a formal legal notice asking in plain language why. The board never responded. More than 40 members signed a written objection and placed it in the board's hands. The board never responded. 52 households filed formal internal dispute resolution requests through the process provided by this association's governing documents. The board never responded directly. Public comment, written requests, an attorney. more than 40 signatures, 52 households using a formal IDR dispute resolution process. The only formal response to the IDR meeting members received came from the general manager, not the board. The general manager answering for decisions involving the strategic plan and the budget, documents adopted and approved by the board. If these are board decisions, members are entitled to a board answer, not a memorandum, not a secondhand explanation, a board answer to a board question. We still don't have one. And here's what makes this silence even harder to accept. The Equestrian Center's financial performance has improved for 4 consecutive years. Through 11 months of this year, it is running roughly $50,000 better than budget. The facility facing the harshest terms in this community is also one getting better every single year. Don't ask me to explain that, ask this board, because that explanation has never come. I'm not asking for anyone in this room to take a side about horses today. I'm asking you to notice what this actually is. A core association amenity singled out in writing for treatment no other amenity carries, with a documented path towards losing it, and a board that after public comment, written requests, an attorney's letter, and more than 40 signatures and 52 formal IDR filings still has not stood up and told the members who pay for this association why. If it can happen here with this much effort behind the question and this little in return, ask yourselves, what happens the next time it's something you care about? This isn't a request for sympathy. It is a request for an answer. Members have done everything in this process that is asked of them. Today, I'm asking this board to do one thing it has not done. Answer the question that has been asked since February, why? Madison, can you please put this in minutes? Thank you.
For benefit of membership clarity, it's okay, Teresa, I'm just going to speak generally now. The Planning Committee is not tracking any action item related to the Equestrian Center. What Teresa is referring to is a broad category on the strategic plan under amenity improvements and maintenance that groups member feedback by amenity, and the only directive on that item that is not even being tracked by the Planning Committee, because it's not an actual action item, is that the board would, quote, address major issues of member dissatisfaction as demonstrated by the following survey feedback and suggestions. What Teresa was quoting partially, because it was not verbatim, was survey feedback from members. And the reason it was missing from other amenities is simply because members did not write the same kind of feedback for other amenities. Golf had feedback, it was different. Tennis, feedback, different, more about replacing nets. The board cannot control what members write in on the survey. It was summarized, and the only action suggested by the Planning Committee, because this strategic plan does not direct board action, but requested that these things be addressed. The board has addressed them in a variety of ways. One of them clearly directly relates to our legal opinion that referenced bylaw 1009, the bistro bylaw. There is no CC&R mandate that amenities break even, and if the board were to demand such a thing, we would put at risk, we would create the risk that an amenity would be shut down, and that would be done without member approval, which otherwise would be 55, am I right? 55%. The board cannot effectively shut down an amenity by demanding a break-even point that would violate member approval standards, and it is not a requirement of our CC&Rs, so we could claim that it would violate that as well. It has been addressed. As to the other implied message we received, I think the treasurer included it, coincidentally, in his addendum. When an amenity is not, when user fees are not regularly adjusted to reflect increasing costs, both in labor and materials, specifically feed, for, I believe it was 6 years they weren't adjusted? Does anyone?
There was about 5 years with no adjustment.
5 years, okay.
Small adjustments and then no adjustment.
So there were some small adjustments and then about 5 years of no adjustment. In that period of time, operating costs went up over 100%, as did payroll. One of those is close to 137%. Both operating costs and payroll went up by 100%, over 100%. During the 5 years, user fees were not adjusted. When they were finally adjusted, the board took a moderate approach of raising fees associated with boarding and boarding services by 33%, far less than the actual increase in incremental costs, a substantial amount less. Those are still being subsidized by member assessments, because clearly a 33% increase in fees will not cover over a 100% increase in operating expenses and payroll. So, back to the treasurer's comments, he is suggesting that be avoided going forward. The Equestrian Center boarders would not have been hit with such a substantial increase had this simply been adjusted on a timely annual basis to reflect increases in inputs, period. This is not political. This is not a biased decision of the board. This is responsible financial management, and we are trying to be fair to all members, including those who are not using or boarding at that amenity. It is a way to create an equitable distribution of costs. Thank you.
Good morning. Paul Mobley, member 3402307. Thank you for being here. Nicole, your opening statements, I really do appreciate the volunteers, the staff, the dedication to this community. We sometimes when we hear some focused anxiety into this room, we forget what kind of quality place we really have, and I just want to point that out. Saturday, I attended the annual meeting for the water company. They had announced a 42% increase in fees. I was inquiring mostly about water conservation. The 42% goes over 3 years. Again, there's a lot of different places that are charging us more. You can see it at the pump. You can see it in the grocery store. There's a lot of different places where we are being accosted by assaults to our pocketbook. And I want to say thank you for this board for reducing that cost last year. I don't want to get into more safety issues like the e-bikes. I've already addressed that. I don't want to get into the safety issues associated with the vehicles that drive crazy on Mil Potrero. Ian Swari put a nice issue out there. I've asked people to get their dash cams, the rear cams on their cars so that we can stop and identify these people who are driving crazy. What I do want to address is two issues. We can't stop EVs from coming into our community. They are higher risk. The fire department will not put an EV fire out. We can't stop people wanting to put EV lithium-ion batteries on their house, but we can make sure they are safe. Tesla Powerwall version 2 has had fires, and I would ask the EC committee to immediately review any installs for power backup systems with lithium-ion batteries. I spoke to the fire department just this week in reference to that, how much of a danger they have with it. What the fire department said was, we actually have more problems with people who are charging their devices, meaning their power tools in their garage, and they leave them unattended, they may power them overnight, they've actually had more fires with that. Kind of a surprise to me. But an awareness of these kind of events really need to be a part of our community fire hazard prevention. We all know about the recent home fires, 2 lost on Freeman, another lost on Bernina, and the most recent fatality on Glacier. That was associated with a in-home issue. Those are serious losses. The property values of those adjacent homes have gone down. We need to focus on encouraging in-home fire prevention as well. The last thing I want to say, and I appreciate saying this, is that having become a part of several different committees, we see many committees go dark because lack of quorum. One of the things I've focused on is getting to know people here in our community. And I think it's rare to say that I'm an introvert. I don't like going out to people. I like to swim and leave myself alone and get back on my bike and go home. But I want to tell you this, and everyone in this community, loneliness, being alone, without daily contact of other individuals, is equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day in terms of your health cost and things like that. I'm about safety. I'm about being, but I'm not about saying and lecturing anyone else. But if you ask our community to pay attention, getting people more involved in our community, committees, contribute and respect each other, your lifespan is going to go up. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Yep. Russ Rogers, member number 3402392. Just a quick question, not about this. I'm curious, why was the screen hung facing that way? Better towards the members.
The screen is for our board member who's on Zoom, so I need to see her. It's not,
Oh,
it was also used to show the treasurer's report, but the reason it's aimed this way now is so that I can see her.
okay. So here's a little history. I've been coming here for over a quarter century. I've been an owner for almost a few months shy of 2 decades. And I've been doing observations the whole time, because I always am. I've seen a lot of degradation, and I'm not blaming the board, I'm just saying societal degradation. But one of the things that is of most concern to me, and there are many concerns, is what looks to me like the re-emergence of a wave of what I call fiscal hyperhawks. And that translates to me and other people into creating fears of cutting costs at any cost. Why do I say this? There's been talk about the Equestrian Center, obviously, the largest financial black hole, let's call it. Okay, I don't use it. I never have. I've gone to open houses there, but I like knowing it's there. Now I'm hearing there's a 33% pay hike. Is that the first time in 5 years?
The fee that you're referring to was approved as part of our annual budget, so it's not a new fee. It was done when we approved the budget.
Right, but is that the first time it's been raised in 5 years? Did I hear you say?
Yes.
Okay, so when you raised it to 33% and put that on paper, did you put in also a cap that it cannot be raised for at least another 5 years? Do you address the time frame associated to the increase? Or could you just do it again 33% next year and 33% the next year?
I can't nor can anyone sitting here control future board decisions. However, we hope,
And by putting a cap on it, when you do the increase, a time cap.
okay,
It's called
thank
a
you for your
sunset
input.
clause.
Thank you. We hear your input, thank you.
Why is that important? I'll tell you why. There's people that want to wipe it out. There's people that would close the clubhouse, lounge. There's people that would close the golf course. I'm very afraid of that kind of mentality. I consider it like a cancer. There's people moving here that want to change the structure of our public benefit corporation, or whatever this is technically called, and try to run it like a business. I think you're one of them.
Well, that's your personal opinion, and I don't
Cannot
agree with
cut
you.
costs the point of wiping out an amenity. Amenities are the deal. That's the deal when you come here. This was all explained to me. I consider this a massive failure of education. There's people moving here that don't understand the context because nobody gives them context. You sign up to pay for all of these amenities when you buy a property here, whether you use it or not. I've never golfed in my life here, but I like knowing it's there, and I know I'm paying for that. So I'm not gonna try to cut my dues by wiping out the golf course. There's people that think like that. I hope you are aware of this.
Well, you just accused me of being one of them, so if I am, I would clearly have to be aware of it. You accused me of being one of them. Those were your words.
I'm concerned that the cost cutting will not be tempered with the knowledge of the context of what we have here. What we have here is a mutual benefit deal, and we all help subsidize all of this.
Would you like clarification? Because what you're saying mirrors social media gossip. I can clarify if you would like.
Is it gonna cut into the 15 minutes?
No, I will extend members' forum so that I
You
can,
talk, the clock has stopped on cutting out our 15 minutes.
correct. I do not punish members for
Carry on.
chair responses. Okay. This is not going to be a debate, nor is it going to be a discussion. I will clarify and we will move on. Is that clear? We cannot have a members' open forum as a discussion. It needs to remain a forum where opinions are shared and they can get a response. But what I'm not interested in is an ongoing back and forth. If you would like to email the board after this, or if you have remaining questions, I will address them, but we will not have a debate. Okay? My goal and my intention is to simply to inform you of what's true.
I'm listening.
Thank you. This board has no intention of shutting down amenities nor not managing them poorly. We don't want to neglect them. In fact, this board has taken steps to clarify that the board of directors may not shut down an amenity, nor may the board of directors require that an amenity break even. This was provided by our legal counsel. We made it available to members in an open-facing letter. We even had a bylaw change in the most recent ballot that clearly demonstrates the facts of the matter. So there are those on social media who took the opportunity of the reduction in assessment to, create their own analogy for it. And that analogy included this concept that the $200 removed from member assessments would somehow take money out of our amenities and their maintenance and their upgrades and their improvements, you name it.
Talking about the dues decrease?
Yes, you referenced that we were cutting costs to the degree that our amenities would shut down. I'm correcting that
shut down.
statement. That is false. The costs that were reduced from our budget were not related whatsoever to amenity upgrade and maintenance. Those costs have stayed in place. And we are doing everything to improve our amenities, we're working on every single amenity, but we will begin starting on the actual clubhouse, which has been neglected. We are very well aware of the taped carpets. I've been complaining about them since I moved here in 2019 at open board meetings. There has been no work done on our clubhouse, and we are about to initiate that work.
Does this mean you're talking about continuing the phases of the remodel plan?
No, the board is going to demonstrate care and ongoing maintenance as well as improvements to every single amenity. The accusation that the board is somehow cutting costs to the degree that amenities will be shut is false.
Okay, you've made that point, so
Okay,
you don't have to do that anymore.
thank you so much.
Demonstrated that it's legally impossible.
Not legally impossible, it is also totally, it's just a false allegation that came out of nowhere. So yes, it is legally impossible. It is also not the goal of this board.
I'm going to loop back to the equestrian because that's the best way to make this.
I will give you this period for a remaining comment, and then we will move on. Go ahead.
You're saying I'm almost out of time.
No, I'm saying I didn't want this to become a debate or a discussion. So if you have an additional question, it's welcome, but this is not going to continue to go back and
Raise the
forth.
cost of participating in an amenity by 33%. And it doesn't have a sunset clause or a cannot exceed for this time period clause, then it's open to being effectively starved to death by just simply raising the fees each year until that particular black hole, financial black hole amenity is gone.
All right, thank you for sharing your perspective. We've heard
See
it.
the point?
I've heard your perspective, yes. Thank you.
Just a comment. We presented a lot of information on the IDR regarding the equestrian center, all the multiple years, the costs, the increases. I will add that to my treasurer's report next month so that the members all can see the data behind that decision. It was not driven by anything other than facts.
Elizabeth Gilbert, can you hear me? It's hard to tell.
Yes.
350-8530-000. So I have a few things I want to talk about during my 5 minutes. I first of all want to thank James and the staff for the continued positive reports on fire mitigation. As a member, I value that a lot, and I want to make sure we continue that aggressively, so thank you. I also want to acknowledge Randall. You're talking about an uncomfortable subject, subsidies. I think it's good that you at least present it in a public forum so that all of us can hear what you're thinking, and I appreciate that. I want to speak to the website. I mistyped the password the first time, and now it's locked me out of the system. It keeps returning to me an authentication error. Nowhere on the website does it tell me how I get support and how I correct this problem, and so I think that needs to be addressed. The trademark standards. I sent an email to the board, last board, and I'm just going to mention it again now to this board. We have no trademark standards. We re-authenticated our trademark and received, I guess, protection at the end of Jennifer Emmett's year, but we have no documents spelling out how that trademark is enforced and how we actually profit from it. So it could potentially be an area of revenue for this association, t-shirts and that type of thing that people want to do. But since we have no standard, anybody can use it the way they want, and then we're forced to try and defend it in the courts. If we don't use a standard defense, it's much harder to defend the trademark. I want to talk a little bit about signage. Recently, we've had a couple of signs put up, one for the bistro. We also had another sign put up at both ends of the community. Its basic message was all fireworks are illegal, but it was very hard to read. It was almost impossible to read in a car going 35 miles an hour. You literally had to slow down to 10 miles an hour and look at the sign to see that. Really, all it had to say was all fireworks are illegal, $1,000 fine, and it should have been much bolder. So I don't encourage you to use that sign again next year. And then I just want to speak just briefly to this conversation about the equestrian center, because I do think accuracy is important. So the 5-year strategic plan specifically says this, and it's the exact language because I have the document, and it says in the equestrian section 4, Equestrian Center, develop a self-sufficiency plan including increased user fees and tiered pricing. Cap association subsidies through budget policy or governing document amendments. Expand equestrian services, rentals, guided trail rides, lessons, and youth programming. Evaluate long-term sustainability. Explore leasing options if revenue goals are unmet. And then last year, there were 2 resolutions presented to the previous board that were almost draconian in nature in terms of how they wanted to deal with the equestrian center. It's no wonder that people who are in the equestrian center are worried about it. That has literally been the language of the 5-year strategic plan and the language of 2 resolutions last year. And if you didn't read those resolutions, board members, go read them. You'll see that that's true. The other amenities have operational improvement language, better maintenance, expanded hours, improved food quality, court resurfacing, erosion fixes, and so on. None of them carry the financial stability ultimatum language that the equestrian center carries. That makes the equestrian center notably distinct from every other amenity in the plan. That is the exact language of the 5-year plan. Thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for clarification. Once again, what both members have called a strategic plan action item is a summary of member input in open-ended responses. They are reading from amenity improvements and maintenance, and I will even go so far as to read the portion preceding each. To ensure amenities are maintained and improved based on member feedback, comma, satisfaction, usage levels, and demographic trends to modernize, maintain, and clarify the purpose of key community spaces based on survey responses to improve usability, revenue potential, and member satisfaction. What both members have referenced were member responses. The reason there are not similar items, language in other amenities is because members did not include it in their responses. So if there was nothing addressing the finances of the golf course, it's because there were no member comments including it as such. The board, the strategic plan does not direct board action. It is a committee project based on survey input. So it is unrelated to previous items of board action. As far as your password issue on the website, I can tell you what I experienced, and it could potentially solve your problem. There's a detail when you add your lot and tract for the password. The top one requires a dash. When you enter it as your password, there's no dash. That alone helped me to log in.
I tried that 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not my problem. Something else is occurring. So I just want to know who we reach out to for support. Because it's not laid out there.
At this point, the number included is the clubhouse. Gail?
Checking with IT support right now.
Okay, so if you contact the office and speak with Gail, she can help you reset your password.
She's here today.
Oh, she's here today. You may even be able to check in at the front desk on your way out.
That might be a handy addition to your instruction set. Also, just not to debate you, Nicole, but the fact that some members had some comments about the equestrian center and that they were actually listed in the 5-year strategic plan makes it sound like all members supported that idea. And I can't believe that's true. So you can debate it with me, but I just want to make the point.
On the reports, if you read the actual survey reports, it is clearly written that open-ended member feedback is not held to the same statistical standard. That's one of the reasons why we don't have an action item on those things. That's just member feedback. It would be a disservice to members to eliminate feedback on one amenity because it's considered sensitive, while including feedback on other amenities. The planning committee does not make those calls. They don't eliminate member feedback because there will be some who are alarmed by it in the community. That they treated each amenity's feedback fairly. Every single version of the reports and the strategic plan was approved by the committee at every step. This was not board action. I doubt if any of these board members have even read it, to be totally honest. It doesn't get the attention it deserves. James, I had to make him aware of it. He wasn't even aware of this plan. It's basically invisible until the equestrian group used it in, a way to accuse the board of having some plan to shut down the amenity. So I'm sorry, but it's taken out of context and it's not accurate.
So why have a 5-year strategic plan if nobody's reading it and nobody cares about it?
Thanks, Beth.
Good morning, Vicki Kraft. I asked that we put a microphone in the back of the room so that when somebody's calling the board chair an effing liar, that they could be easily removed from the room, or when they walk away from the podium and they say effing asshole. This is not conversation that needs to happen in our board meetings. Addressing the asphalt additive, I've brought this up several times over the years. When we pave our roads, you can add an additive to the asphalt that makes the surface less icy, slippery, etc. I do think we should look into that. We don't need it for like cul-de-sacs, but for like our main roads that, multiple people drive every morning trying to get to work. I think that would be a great thing to look into if we can afford it. Also, if we use whatever they're called, VSS again this year, they have not fixed the damage from the previous years when they come into town. We should provide them with a list of here's the streets that have damage from, that chip away to the original street level. Those should be fixed because, well, the asphalt didn't stick, it caused damage. And now, we have holes in some of our streets. There's probably about at least 18 that I know of off the top of my head. I wish, if possible, the clubhouse could put out an e-bike helmet thing, alerting parents. A lot of parents don't understand the difference between the two different kinds of e-bikes and the fact that one of them requires that you be 16 years old. I think that's an important information to get out to our community. Another thing that should have been sent out to our community, in my opinion, we had a bear start a stove on fire again this week. Bear climbed up the front of the stove. The fire started, it burned kitchen towels. I posted extensively about it. We have had 7 bear-started stove fires that I'm aware of. In some cases, they ran out of propane at the house, which, thank God, nothing started on fire. And then, of course, the house on Freeman Court actually burned. So putting out a notice to tell people who are not at their house full-time, even some of the people that are at their house full-time might want to do it, but people can remove their stove knobs, they can unplug their stove, and they can turn off the kitchen breaker when they're not home or they're on vacation or whatever. I want to thank James for bringing down our assessments and our overall reductions at the clubhouse and working with all the people, the board, the committees, the office staff. I really think that's been a great asset to boost morale within our community. The horse fee, I know you're addressing it today. I'm really happy to hear that, I'm guessing you guys are going to pass it and bring down it never really even happened, but because I post the flyers out all the time for the $90 or whatever for the horsemanship classes. I think keeping them right now at that price is good for our community because, kids need stuff to do. We need to try and keep it affordable. And that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Vicki.
Hello,
maybe lower it a bit. There you go.
Now, oh my. Okay. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jana Yekel, and my track number is 3507328. Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I wanted to talk about a word that's been used a lot in this community lately, affordable. Because affordability isn't just what the budget says. It's what people actually pay. Every year we hear about the assessment, we hear that it stayed flat, we hear that it went down, we hear that members are saving money. But affordability isn't just what appears on one line of a budget, it's what people actually pay. And that's where the story changes. While assessments have been reduced, the cost to actually use the amenities that make this community what it continues, what it continues to rise. Golf fees go up, bistro prices go up, boarding fees go up, other user fees go up. So before we congratulate ourselves on affordability, we should ask the simple question, affordability for whom? Because if the assessment goes down on one page, but the cost of participating in the community goes up elsewhere, that's not affordability. That's just moving the cost from one pocket to another. I'll give you an example of myself. Obviously, it's going to cost me more because I have horses. So I use the extra services at the stable as well. So my cost is going up $3,600 a year. I know you just said that it hadn't gone up for 5 years, so now you got to make up time. I'm not sure that's so fair for me, because I just came here a year ago, but I understand what you're saying, but usually board fees only go up 5–10% a year. At any rate, I don't want to talk about the horse thing. It's only one place that we're talking about, but it's happening across the whole community. Members are cutting back at the bistro because prices have climbed. Golf and user fees continue to rise. Little by little, the cost of participating in the community keeps moving upward. And that's where I think this board is making a mistake, because people don't buy homes here because of the square footage alone. They buy into a lifestyle. They buy into the golf course. They buy into the pool. They buy into the restaurants. They buy into the events. They buy into the trails. They buy into the stables. They buy into the idea that this place where ordinary people can enjoy amenities that make Pine Mountain unique. When these amenities become too expensive for members to use, participation drops. When participation drops, the community is less attractive. And when the community becomes less attractive, homes become harder to sell. That affects every property owner in the community, whether you use a single amenity or not. We're already starting to see warning signs at the stable. Horses that have left, someone selling their house because they've got 3 horses. At any rate, I'm going to go into all that. I don't even want to talk about the equestrian anymore. But anyways, so these losses don't show up neatly on a budget spreadsheet. That's the problem with looking at everything through the lens of self-sufficiency and break-even targets. The spreadsheet only measures what comes in today. It doesn't measure the member who stops participating. It doesn't measure the family that decides not to move here. It doesn't measure the home that sits on the market longer. It doesn't measure the gradual erosion of the very things that people want to live here in the first place. An association isn't a business. It doesn't have customers. It has members. And members don't pay assessments so that the board and management can run a break-even ledger on every amenity, although I know that's not your intent. Members pay assessments precisely so those amenities don't have to pay for themselves. That's the whole point of pooling money together in the first place. At any rate, I'm going to just skip over. Affordability is what people actually pay, and right now members are paying more than this board wants to admit. Thank you for your time.
Excuse me, how many horses do you actually have?
2.
Okay.
I was paying about $1,000 a month. Now I'm going to be paying about $1,300. So I mean,
It hurts.
that's like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the treasurer speak.
When you use self-sufficiency and break even, that was the reason I restored emphasis on what was called the bistro bylaw, which was an attempt to essentially shut down the cafe by forcing it to be self-sufficient. And we spent a great deal of time, and we have legal opinions, and we eliminated that because you cannot put an amenity out of business by requiring it to be self-sufficient or breaking even. I think in a lot of these, James is working very diligently, especially in the equestrian center, to bring extra revenue in and find ways to streamline it, to make it more efficient. But self-sufficiency is not a goal. Break even is not allowable, and we went to a great deal of time and money to make that very clear. You cannot shut down an existing amenity, whether it's actually named in the CCNRs or not, though. I just wanted to be on record. We've gone to the lengths.
Talking about, I didn't think.
If you could just let him finish. Hold on one second.
Okay, again, we've gone to great lengths to make it very clear that you cannot remove these amenities by choking them. So again, I'm just responding when I heard self-sufficiency and break even on your commentary. Those phrases are not how the board operates. So again, I meant that to be hopefully.
Yeah, let's just forget those words. Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't really my intent, I'm sorry. It was basically just to say what I said.
No, I understand your message. Thank you.
Thank you. And for additional clarification, this has been brought up in the past. There was a member who perceived our fee increases as essentially paying for our assessment reduction, and that's an inaccurate assumption. The assessment was reduced by eliminating unnecessary spending in operating expenses. Fees were adjusted by approaching each individually, not in a way that was going to then fund that decrease. So they are related, though separate categories, and one is not directly reflective of the other.
Right.
All right, if there are no more member comments, we will move forward.
Okay. All right, there's no old business, and now we're on to new business. We do have a discussion item, the discussion of the feasibility of utilizing professionally managed goat grazing for wildfire mitigation and vegetation management within association greenbelts, including consideration of any applicable governing document requirements or restrictions. Okay.
I'm going to hand this over to James because he is going to lead by informing the board and members. At the end of this discussion item, we will open it up for member comment. This is an opportunity to approach an idea and gather as much feedback as possible.
First of all, for the record, in response to Vicki Kraft's statement, I can't solely take any credit for anything that's being done here. As far as the assessment, it was a holistic approach involving all the managers, George, the treasurer, the board for approval. So thank you on behalf of the entire team that worked very diligent on identifying areas of improvement. So, okay, going on to goat grazing, as conversations have continued and grown to where we're addressing the greenbelt areas that the POA is responsible for. I heard a lot last year. I experienced it this year where we did struggle to try and maintain some of the identified areas that both maintenance and EC came together and agreed upon, 3 areas actually. The schedule coming off of winter, coming into spring and summer, where the size of our team and the resources that we have organically, the amount of work, exceeds the resources that we have internally. With the 50,000 budgeted to help address the greenbelt, that goes a little ways. It doesn't go very far when we're talking about eliminating our slash, our biofuel. That's another factor on fire mitigation, and that's a costly enterprise to remove that fuel off the mountain. It's incredibly expensive. This year was the opportunity to really understand the use of that fund. And then going into goat grazing with these conversations, and I've gone to several engagements, the county roundtable, the Montane Forest Project, huge groups of people and academia that discuss all aspects of fire mitigation, project work, grant work. I speak very regularly with the Kern Fire Safe Council, Wendy Ward, who has now taken on the HIZ grant as the program manager. She approached me and said, you know, we are discussing and utilizing goat grazing in other mountain communities. So I said, great, let me have that point of contact. So I met with an individual, I don't know his last name, is Levi, but he showed up and we literally did a recon and walked the 3 areas that we identified as an initial phase of the POA Greenbelt work that we want to focus on. These are individual areas. 2 are within the community. 1 is on the outskirts, on the north edge here. And these are distinct areas that would create those boundaries to prevent fire spread. So she, you know, great suggestion, great idea. I know coming, you know, from the military, it's very prevalent. There's a lot of RFPs out there on the government sites. So met with the vendor, got his full understanding of how he operates, and I have his presentation. I've got it scanned in, and I think I submitted it to the board. However, this is the initial discussion on this. I know there's a lot of concerns, and I know those concerns, and immediately when an initiative that affects the community, that discussion begins, I know some of the pros and cons. I know the feedback that I'm going to hear. I just know. I got a year here. So we're waiting for an estimate. I'm going to get a couple other goat grazers, maybe 2, 3, 4 more, you know, get a whole bunch of bids together. But the controls are the focus. The controlling the goats, not increasing, you know, predator activity, you know, not having the goats be an attractant, and the vendor describes a 24/7 operations, which I don't agree with, you know, in our community, maybe out on a farm somewhere that's fairly remote and separated from other properties. The noise, you know, all those factors play in. I'm hoping that we can come up with a solution. Currently, in discussing with him, his controls, he's got electrified fencing, he's got dogs. The dogs have grown up with the goats from when they were goat babies. It's a very cool thing that he describes. He's been doing this a few years. He's got surveillance cameras, he's got monitoring, it's all connected. So that he's got live streams. He would have someone available to respond immediately, and we're willing to be a part of that too, possibly volunteers. But that is a big concern. Safety of the goats, you know, safety of the membership in whole, families, you know, children, pets, everything. We know we have some mountain lion walking around here, and that comes to mind right away. And just keeping a very close eye on this. We're just in the initial stages of discussing this as an option, taking into account our governing docs, the community. Once we can get these bids together, I plan on having the EC committee review. Naturally, I think that's probably the first step, and the EC committee recommendations go to the board with multiple opportunities to communicate the plan, communicate contingencies and controls, For example, versus 24/7, I would say, dawn to dusk, and then we sequester the goats on a boundary. I may have to partner and reach out to USFS for that to take place. But anything and everything to add in the controls and be more comfortable with how we're gonna do this. I would like to do a beta test if all said and done, based on approvals and controls and communicating to the membership. One of the 3 identified areas would be a great beta test for this. And then we take the next steps on whether we advance forward on further work, or at that point, cut our losses or cut that program out. But the other side, with 50K in our Greenbelt and the cost to masticate or manually work an acre, a crew, equipment. Some of the areas we have identified, there are wetlands, you can't even have equipment go in there. So we're talking handwork. Currently, some of the numbers I compare against are, a few $1,000s an acre for a team to work it, and a few $1,000s would with goats, we could literally work 3.5 acres. Triple production, triple the results, stretch our money farther. And I'm also working in prelude to this possibly being approved, asking for a match from our current CAL FIRE grant, which goat grazing is approved work in accordance to CAL FIRE grants. But to get a match of our 50, take us to 100, and literally, 160 acres later, we would have a lot of greenbelt work, resolved, worked, removed, addressed. I can't tell you how many comments, feedback regarding the POA's responsibility and what we haven't done in the Greenbelt that we have to manage. And this is one opportunity, however it ends up, but it's an opportunity to really get a lot of work done and maintain momentum. Momentum is what I'm trying to maintain. We have some momentum. Working on a map. We're doing work. We're doing work on the Boneyard Trail, which is in an effort to help evacuate. That's never been done. We're trying to keep pressing forward, but we have limited funds, limited resources. This is a great opportunity. So I think that's all I can cover on that at this point.
Before I open it up to discussion, I think the one piece of information that will benefit directors who are aware of our association rule 4.04 limiting farm animals is, can you tell us what portion, if any, of the areas you're looking at are lots within Pine Mountain Club?
The 3 areas we're looking at right now are POA property. And the beta, out of the 3, the area I think would be the first initial area to work is very, it's on the edge. There's a few, I saw a few properties across south of the area that we're looking at, and it wasn't a lot. I think it's a great area to start with. The north side of the area is literally the ridge line and the trail leading out to Wind Wolves.
So would there be the necessity to update the rule if the board so chooses in order to allow the temporary use of goat grazing for fire abatement? That's what I'm trying to gain clarity on.
I mean, the way the bylaw, it's a bylaw, or is it a rule? It's a rule.
Yeah.
The way it's written, I mean, it doesn't.
I can read it. Let me read it
Okay,
for everyone's benefit. Farm animals, including but not limited to chickens, duck, geese, goats, and pigs, are not permitted on any lot within Pine Mountain Club. So that's what we need to address if we move forward.
Okay, and that has been mentioned right away. The first time I mentioned goat grazing, I got lots of feedback, and that was the first area. If the rule doesn't specify member residential lots or POA-owned lots, then we would have to address the rule. But like I said, I mean, would really require EC to weigh in, membership feedback, communicate this, and see how that goes. It looks like we would have to clarify that rule, barring disapproval or not, however this goes, we would have to clarify that rule.
But the first area you've identified is not a POA lot?
It's our property, so is it just general greenbelt space? It is. I don't know how that's quantified as far as how it's designated by lot. I don't know. I haven't looked at that.
Okay, so that might be correct. We could,
But I think EC will help determine what category that would fall into or fall out of.
all right, any discussion by directors? All right.
Just to be clear, the three areas that you're looking at potentially, including the beta test area, are currently general PMC, POA green space, not affiliated with any specific lot number.
I believe the first beta lot area is. The other two are within the communities. I haven't looked at a lot track to see what it is.
Okay.
It's in between lots. It's like wetlands. It's like a marshy looking area.
I do have a question. So do you have a plan for the stuff that the goats don't eat?
I mean, according to this goat grazer vendor, they'll eat as much as they need without disturbing the ground, or it's environmentally safe. There's a lot of good benefits to using goats in general, environmentally speaking. He would move them. He moves them. He moves them in groups to take care of the areas. And we're not talking, eat it down and just end up with a big dirt field. It's goat mastication in areas to create gaps. And he's familiar with the goat grazing in a fire mitigation aspect. So, I mean, trusting that his plan and how long and his knowledge of moving the goats around to just create those gaps in the open space that we're going to try and do would be.
The fact that there's U.S. Forest Service approval and policy in place for that, which it sounds like he's going to comply with, gives me confidence that as long as he's certified by them, it's something we can trust.
That's a very good point. Thank you.
One more question. Do they have like belts around their neck or something? Because you mentioned noise pollution.
I mean, my number one concern was, goats are going to come here and just make a ton of noise. I've heard goats. I've heard.
They sound so funny though. They're hilarious.
I heard a truck full of goats in Haiti when I was there, and I thought it was a bunch of kids being massacred. I mean, it is scary. It's like crying and whatever they do. But when I brought that up, he's like, "Well, they're eating. They're pretty quiet."
Just go ahead.
Exactly. And they eat all day, all night, and so.
They're fertilized.
But the dogs. The dogs are what I'm worried about, because in the interior. One of the identified areas in the interior, just us walking in there, it just became very, there was a couple dogs and they just nonstop. And so I don't see, I mean, I want this to succeed, but, in keeping with our roles and, our community and,
Well, in areas like that, a crew of strangers are going to elicit the same reaction from dogs and be not as efficient, so.
Just a quick reminder, I appreciate suggestions, but I want to follow our open meeting protocol where directors raise their hand and I will call on you individually so that we avoid crosstalk and disorganized chatter. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm aware of a couple of municipalities that actually use the grazing goats, fire goats, they call them, and to really great effect. You know, possibly if we're using that, there might be some benefit in terms of our fire insurance costs per homeowner, but who knows if that's gonna happen. The noise would be the bleeding, and then the dogs barking, the herding dogs they'll have with them. I did have a question. Do we have an estimate of how time per acre to clear? Did they give you an idea of, like, in other words, if they're gonna be in there a day to clear 10 acres, then we're saying, okay, you only have to put up with this noise for a day and then we're moving them somewhere else? Or are we saying, yeah, they could be there all summer to clear, you know, this acreage?
I think when we get the plan concept with the areas, all the acreage, we get the bids, we'll get further detail. But he did mention in the area that we walked, I mean, it would be in 3 to 5 days, you know, depending on, I guess, depending on the material. It was mustard weed and pepper grass and just big piles of stuff. It was huge. But he moves them to eradicate, masticate, but based on some of the gaps, it's hard to explain what he was explaining to me, but he was saying, you know, 3 to 5 days in that area, and it was a good space. I don't have the exact acreage, but it was a pretty good.
And if the dogs barking is the number one noise concern, because like James said, as the goats are eating, they're otherwise quiet, we can definitely communicate with nearby neighbors to ask that they keep their dogs indoors during that time. They're not supposed to be left outside unattended anyways, but, you know, I think we can do our best as far as outreach goes to surrounding neighbors to minimize the dog barking as well as, you know, to be conscientious of surrounding neighbors.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to second Jim's comment that the goats may elicit barking, but so is a bunch of people manually coming in and taking out the weeds. There's no way to necessarily do it without possibly short term. That's why, and Mark's comment is duration. How long does this go on? And we can inform the members, and would you rather have fire risk mitigated? We need to know how long we're asking, right? It's 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 5 years. So.
And as all that's styled, then we will have a contract and the board will be updated on those details. And when it comes to approval, it will be an open session item. So those facts will be covered and members will have an additional opportunity to offer feedback. All right, is there any additional discussion before we open it up to members? All right, go ahead if anyone would like to comment.
Good morning. I like the idea of goats, but I want to interject some analysis that people have not considered. Just this past week, I put my phone app to detect birds in my front yard, and I forgot the phone, and within 4 hours, I had 112 different species of birds. Now, one discussion about how is it going to impact the bird population. Again, we get a migratory pattern. Birds are eating seeds. These goats, I am presuming, will eat some of the things that these birds do eat. So my thought is, has any concept of getting a baseline population of birds that are in that vicinity easily done? Put the Merlin phone app out there just to get an assessment a few days, a few different times. It doesn't take much time. What I do encourage is an idea. One of my close friends, his son, monitored leopards in southern Arizona. He's off doing frogs somewhere in the Cascades. I have no idea what he's doing. But that kind of contact is an important aspect of what we could do. There's not many communities that are sitting there going, we're going to clean up our forest fire with goats. a study before and after, utilizing the right resources could benefit more than just us. Look at the fires in Canada. They got some work to do. Look at other communities similar to us. There could be an opportunity, and if you want, I can talk to my friend's son. Where would we go from there? You probably all have different contexts that could look into a study before and after the effects of goats onto the community. Now, you might ask, what are the goats eating? One way to find out is trace the feces and see what's in there. Anyway, just a thought.
Thanks, Paul.
Vicki Kraft. The reason, do you guys know the reason that 404 exists? Because we had bears and mountain lions killing goats. We had this great girl, she had a goat, had a couple of them. Thankfully, she would stop by the lot next to me that never gets cleaned, and she would use the goat on that property to feed her goat. This is before they got banned, and that rule got passed. And it's my understanding that everything here is the PMC POA, isn't it? Like our lots, the green belt, nothing's really excluded from that rule. Lebec has had their goats eaten by mountain lions this year, same with Lake of the Woods. This is not an unknown thing. I find it hard to believe that leaving the goats here overnight is going to be any sort of benefit for the neighbors that are living in that area. I know I don't want to walk out in my backyard and have a mountain lion up in the tree looking at the goats, especially if I had little children. Do they pay for the liability of something like that in our community? And secondly, do we have to pay for the goats that get killed by our local wildlife?
Haven't begun to get into the insurance legal aspect of it. That would be the next steps. I'm just trying to focus on what areas that we would work to mitigate, some of the negative factors, the noise.
First, you'd have to actually bend the rule that is an association rule. The association rules can be impacted every single day for each goat that's on a property. So that guy is going to end up getting fined by the association for every single goat, every single day, until that is changed or removed.
Yes. We wouldn't go forward with goat grazing on association lots until we.
So then can everybody in this?
No, Vicki, let me clarify. The rule would have to be adjusted to include the temporary use. So that's one of the reasons we're having this as a discussion item, because we need to collect information, we need to collect feedback, we need to look at all aspects. But you brought up something that I meant to mention earlier. I believe this gentleman collects the goats overnight and keeps them contained. Am I correct?
And
Well,
who picks up all the goats that would be consumed by bears?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to all aspects of goat grazing. This is just the initial effort to talk about it as an opportunity to help us on fire mitigation and all the other factors. All the other factors are going to have to come in play. That's why I would think we should start with EC, just on selection of where we would do it. And then naturally, all the conversations on rules, governing docs and the rules, or everything that's a factor would have to be weighed in. And ultimately, it's not my decision. I'm just looking for opportunities to help us mitigate our property and keep us safer, from fire. But, it's.
For 3 years, I have asked for the lower part of Woodland, the green belt, to be cut back, mostly because it's sticking into the road. And every single time there's tourists in town or just people who want to go for a walk, they have to walk out into the roadway to go around the shrubbery that's, clearly into the actual driving lane of the street. There are people in our community that would volunteer. I've even asked 2 people already saying, hey, could you guys come over if I set it up and have the lower part of Woodland trimmed back? And they're like, yeah, we'll do it. But then again, I have to reach out to the clubhouse. I have to get somebody to pick up the debris, because there'd be a lot of it. But there's people in our community that would volunteer to do some of this work that we don't even reach out to them to make that even happen?
Well, I'll put a blast out, because I'm needing volunteers. I mean, if there's folks wanting to volunteer, I would love to get a whole group, a whole brigade of workers, but, you know, we have to understand, there's proper training. There's areas that you can't just masticate, like the Willows, you know, that area off of, west of Woodland. In that area, it's very thick, and you would think, oh, why don't we just, you know, just kind of get that area cleared out? There's things that you can and can't do environmentally. For USDA, there's 4 months of assessments to be done just before the work, or before the work can even proceed.
I'm going to disagree with you on the lower Woodland part because A, it's next to the roadway. It's absolutely a fire hazard. It's a hazard for people trying to walk down that segment of Woodland. So the USDA is going to say, oh, we're going to just let it all grow into the middle of the road.
Yeah, well,
Can't travel.
USDA, I just use it as an example, but even for our CAL FIRE grant, there's assessments, you know, ones I'm not real familiar with, but there's an environmental, there's a cultural, there's an archaeological, and it takes months to get approved. It is 6-8 months past the CAL FIRE grant award, and they are just now done with the assessments.
I've been here 17 years, and the same area I'm talking about has been trimmed back by our association multiple times.
Can you, Vicki, just please send us, feel free to send the board pictures of this specific area and management, obviously. This is not.
I did that when Jennifer was the chair, and she told me that I needed to fill out a work order. Well, you know what? I don't work for the clubhouse. I don't need to fill out a work order. I should be able to send an email to multiple people and it should get done.
Yes, I agree. But right now, we don't know the facts about the specific area you're describing. So if you could please resend that information to us, it will help in order to provide you with specifics and potentially some level of improvement there.
And if I can add.
Yes, please.
And there is some flexibility, you know, the field team, Steve Watkins, he has areas proposed for work, and we can discuss some variance to some of the work that is already in place. So just send me what areas you're, you know, what you're talking about, and I'll talk to the contractors that have projects ongoing and see if we can, you know, kind of nudge them and get some of the needs addressed.
I just want to speak in support. I can't take this thing in support. Forget it.
You can tilt it, there you go.
I just want to speak in support of this continued evaluation of the goats. Thank you. I like the idea of an alternative method of cleaning property that doesn't involve manpower and all the risks that are involved with manpower. I would also love to know if they eat foxtails, because foxtails are a major hazard to pet owners. I spent $600 last year getting a foxtail out of my dog's rump. And so if they eat foxtails, that would even be a bigger benefit to us. But I also want to speak into the idea that goat herding and this kind of thing has been going on for generations. This isn't like some new thing. And this guy probably understands that there are wild animals in the area, and he understands by proposing to us to work with us that we have a risk of that happening. And so probably in his own taking care of himself and his herds, he's going to start dealing with that by the fact that he has aggressive dogs, the fact that he also has a herder, that kind of thing. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm aware of the Santa Clarita Prison actually uses goats on their property, the surrounding, which is a lot of acreage and similar to the vegetation we have here. So for those who can't hear, it's just additional clarification that this is widely used by other cities and other organizations, et cetera. So we will continue to look into it and address each concern as it arises. Again, this was an informational session to gather feedback, and we shall keep you updated. Thank you.
All right. Director Randall Gates.
I, Director Randall Gates, move the adoption of Resolution 01-07-18-2026 to approve the renewal of PMC POA equine general liability and equine excess coverage policy due to expire on July 30th, 2026, as submitted.
Do I have, okay,
Second.
with Mark?
Just to summarize, without reading all of that, the premium for the general liability policy is $2,576 compared to, $2,576 compared to $2,387, increase of $189. And the excess coverage umbrella, which covers, $5 million liability coverage, been increased, from 3 million to 5 million. The annual premium is $2,500 compared to $1,965, increase of $535. And the agent has compared quotes with other policies, and I believe we're at a very, very modest increase in a world that doesn't usually have such modest increases.
Discussion? Mark?
Just a quick question. So the recommended increase in the umbrella coverage and the policy, was this based on the broker knowing that we are now going to be offering youth programs and public programs for horse?
I believe those are going to have to be separately addressed, but I'll let James, or does it cover this, James?
Yes, we've been working on the underwriters, getting the numbers together for several months, and the additional exposure specifically drove that umbrella increase.
Thank you.
Additional discussion? Okay, any member comments?
Just Elizabeth Gilbert, just a quick question. Is this per incident or is this cumulative throughout the entire year? So $5 million of liability total to us or $5 million per incident?
It's aggregate, if that answers your question, so.
So if we have multiple events, we're covered up to 5,000, 5 million.
It would be the aggregate. It would be, I don't believe it would be per incident with no cap. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah. Usually umbrella coverage is, correct me if I'm wrong, James, but this would be a aggregate limit
Okay.
for liability.
Yeah, that's all I know, the aggregate. As far as per occurrence, I'm not sure. I guess we can get more detail behind it, but I don't. I just know the umbrella just needed increase based on, and he's aware of an incident or two, what's occurred in the past with personal liability insurance with vendor or border and what that covers, taking us to 3 on our coverage that kicks in after. Taking us to 5 was due to the exposure, and we're talking, we could have quite a few folks there and children. And it was just his recommendation. The additional exposure is going to be great, and it's a good move. I can get further details as far as how it kicks in and the details on how it applies on an event, an incident.
Well, I think understanding that would be important to it.
Well, we have information on the general liability, so I can give you that. The umbrella would kick in beyond that, and it's my assumption that it would match our initial limitations. So we have 1 million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate on our original GL policy with limits of 25,000 per horse and 100,000 aggregate. So we can find out, but as far as the umbrella policy goes, it just adds additional
Yeah, I understand.
coverage,
But
so,
the per incident coverage is in the original policy, and that's where you
so there we go.
look at it.
Okay.
Okay,
Correct.
Hi, we've closed for discussion.
Okay.
But if you have a quick comment.
Yeah, so this is for the equestrian center for insurance for the kids that are actually riding,
For everything,
everything.
everything related to the equestrian
So
center.
I was into horses with my kids, and we always had to sign a waiver, which didn't really, is that something that doesn't exist anymore? The waiver that just kind of avoids the whole insurance thing?
So, okay, so according to a member in the audience, there is still the waiver. And in addition, horse owners supplement insurance coverage by purchasing their own policies in the case that there is responsibility on the owner in addition to the association, et cetera. So it's quite a lot of moving parts. Go ahead, Randall.
And the boarding contract is nothing but waivers. If you've read it, it probably has more waivers than it doesn't, but I think it's, belt and suspenders. You have waivers, and yet you cover yourself for contingencies. And so I think for the cost here, we're providing some good coverage. Because waivers can always be challenged.
I think this is all for stuff that can happen on the ground, like when somebody's petting a horse and get bitten.
Slip and trip.
Go ahead, Jim.
So waivers aside, once a court rules negligence, that waiver can be deemed null and void. So that's why we have specific policies and then an umbrella to cover anything excess.
Yes, thank you. Good point.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the Resolution 1718-2026, approval of renewal of PMCPOA equine general liability and equine excess coverage policy due to expire on July 30th, 2026.
Aye.
Debbie?
Debbie, are you, okay, thank you, motion carries.
All right. Director Randall Gates moved the adoption of the following resolution, 0207-18-2026, to approve a contract for asphalt resurfacing and repair of association roads not to exceed $250,000 from the 2026-27 operating budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Jim?
And I wanted to mention, I think we need to follow up on Vicky's comment with VSS on this, that if there's any unexpected deterioration of whatever they worked on last year, we should walk them around and have them make sure that that gets covered just from a warranty point of view. So,
18
extent Vicky can,
18 separate defects, she noted.
to the extent Vicky can give us a nice map and circle all the areas, then we'll make sure they're. But again, I think it's a great practice just before we start this year to have them review what they've done in the prior year and just make sure there's not any touch-up that's necessary. But again, we have, the approved budget is 3.25. This is $250,000. We're leaving extra money for our own ground crew. There's a lot of cracks that need filling, and they can do that. We have our own asphalt crack filler, and we have a crew that knows how to use it. And additionally, on this contract, there is separate money here for VSS to actually specifically seal the cracks before they do the resurfacing. If you've seen some of the ones in the past, resurfacing, they say theoretically it deals with the crack. It doesn't. The water eventually goes right down. So this is, my understanding, a much higher quality of repair that we'll be doing going forward.
So my question is now, would you like to amend this resolution to include a requirement, although that could potentially impact the agreement? As far as what you mentioned, having the company first identify problem areas and addressing them, do we need to amend the resolution to include that?
I don't believe so. I believe the maintenance crew can take care of it one way or the other. I think we just need to identify these, and ideally VSS will take care of them because they're going to be out here working, but if for any reason that isn't, part of the deal, then we should be fixing potholes as we go anyhow. I mean, if they're sitting there 6 months waiting for VSS to show off, that's not really prudent. So I think if it's a pothole, we just need to take care of it. And since they're going to be coming out very soon, George, you know when they're due? It's within a week? Okay, so it's imminent. So at this point, I think let's have VSS take a look. But I don't think, at this point, I wouldn't bother amending it because I wouldn't want to make it contingent on something that we have no absolute control over and our own crew can easily take care of potholes.
Perfect, thank you. Any discussion, additional? Okay. Would any members like to comment?
You did it to yourself.
I know.
But she's an expert, so.
Gail Carroll Co., and the lot number is 3508081.
Try speaking into the mic so people online can hear.
It's testing, okay.
That's better.
It's closer. Turn up, George. Anyway, they said you have someone doing the potholes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, because we've had one turning off of Simmons and then turning on to Cedarwood. There's been a pothole there since like a month after they paved it, and no one's repaired it. So do our maintenance people do that, or are they going to ask for input from members of where there may be? It's a gigantic pothole.
James is going to respond.
Yeah.
What, Gail, what was the, Simmons and what?
Simmons and Cedarwood.
Cedarwood.
It's
okay.
on Cedarwood, yeah.
Okay, we'll assess and see what we need done on
I'm
that.
used to avoiding them because doing the entrance and the exit off the 5.
Yeah.
You get good at
Yeah.
navigating that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, no.
And feel free in the future to always send that kind of information to management so that they're aware. Yeah, thank you. Okay, if there's no additional member feedback, all those in favor of Resolution 20718-2026, approval of a contract for asphalt resurfacing and repair of association roads not to exceed $250,000 from the 26-27 operating budget.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
I, Director Bodorf, move the adoption of the following resolution. Resolution 030718-2026, approved Pine Mountain Club user fee changes to equestrian horsemanship lessons and clinics. I'm just going to read the whereases.
Let's get a second.
Oh.
Do I have a second? All right, Randall, go ahead.
Thank you, Randall. Whereas the PMC POA 2026-27 guest user fees for both horsemanship riding lesson and natural horsemanship clinic were inadvertently increased within our financial software. The horsemanship riding lesson and horsemanship clinic are both revenue-generating services offered by the PMC POA Equestrian Center. The two services, riding lessons and clinic, generate revenue for the PMC POA Equestrian Center and are considered to be fixed fees. Management recommends returning the horsemanship riding lesson fee to previous rates of $80 for members and $90 for guests. Management recommends returning the natural horsemanship clinic fee to previous rate of $60 for members and $70 for guests. PMC POA management has recommended the approval and revision of both Equestrian Center guest user fees for the above-mentioned services. Resolved that the PMC POA Board of Directors approve Resolution 030718-2026, restoring the horsemanship program fees to the previously established rates of $80 for members and $90 for guests, and restoring the natural horsemanship clinic fee to the previously established rate of $60 for members and $70 for guests, effective immediately.
Discussion? All right, go ahead, Debbie.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question in regards to the user fees. Do they cover the expenses for the lessons and the clinics?
I can. Yeah,
can't hear anyone.
1 second, Debbie, I'll update you. I'm like listening to Georgia.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
If you like, my understanding is we pay, I think what George is saying, $20 for the rental fee of a horse. That's covered.
Okay.
And then there's no incremental cost because there's no additional payroll, or this is done within the available hours of staff already. So it's not like feed and mucking a stall. This is basically all profit because we're not, it has to occur within, I assume Lori's doing most of the lessons or all?
Yes.
All of them. So it happens within her available hours. There's no overtime. There's no additional cost other than the cost to rent the horse, $20. The rest goes to the association.
Correct, and she is a salaried employee.
And how many horses do we have that will get to provide these lessons? Like 5 horses, 10 horses?
2 or 3?
No,
Okay.
currently, there's 2, carefully managed. What would be the future? I mean, ideally, we would have, we would own our horses. We would own a few, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
As we, attempt to scale up to results.
Great. I've had members say like, hey, can I bring my 5 friends? And I didn't know how many horses we had available for the lessons. And then just to note, on the website, I believe the fees are incorrect.
That was something I flagged and was adjusted, so if they're still incorrect, I'll look again. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
that was last night. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they were supposed to be updated, but if you're referring to the user fee schedule, we cannot change it until the board approves the new amount. So that specific part of the webpage will be adjusted after today. It would be inappropriate to change it before the board approved the accurate amount. So that may be what you saw.
Possibly.
Yeah, most likely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tom?
I don't know if this is out of context, but what I was gathering from the one lady that came up and spoke about the fees, how she has 2 horses and her fees were raised $100 a horse. Was that correct?
This is just for the horsemanship lessons? This is
Right.
lessons. So this is
right.
separate from boarding and boarding services and boarding fees.
Got it. Are we going to get it? Did we already pass that?
We're not, those were approved with the budget
Okay,
for the new fiscal year prior to your time on the board.
got it. I was
Yes.
just curious if they have 2 or more horses, why are they being charged the same? Shouldn't it be like assessed to how many horses they have?
It's per barn stall.
Right, per stall, but if they have 2 horses, I don't know, I'm just a thought.
That's already decided on.
I know, it's already decided, so. Okay.
The real factual explanation would be that the incremental cost is per horse.
Yeah.
So we pay labor and feed. However, because there are a lot of changes currently in the pipeline to improve the financial picture of the center, it was my original recommendation that we revisit the fee schedule every quarter. So we can revisit it, absolutely. It's not set in stone. If there's anything we can do to adjust it that is fair and helpful, and especially if we're able to generate additional revenue, we can absolutely do that going forward. Yes. Any further discussion by directors? Member comment?
I absolutely support, can you hear me?
Yes.
I absolutely support bringing the fee back to what it was. We have lots of financial issues going on within our community. Hopefully, we don't get to the point where we have 240 homes in foreclosure like we did around 2010. But I think it's important for our kids to be able to afford horse lessons. It brings us more in line with the horse lessons that are offered throughout the community outside of PMC. And I think something else that I just thought of while I was sitting here, we used to have birthday party packages that they could do at the Horse Equestrian Center. And those were really popular. I used to post the flyer for it, and it was, something that parents would easily, like how some people go to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. In Pine Mountain Club, the kids could go to the equestrian center, have a birthday party, it brings in money, hopefully. I don't know what the price breakdown is on that, but I do think horse lessons are a benefit to our kids in our community. There's not a whole lot to do here. I know we try to come up with creative stuff all the time, but I do ask the board to vote in favor of changing the price back. Thanks.
Thank you, and that's a great idea. We'll look into. If there is no more additional member comment, all those in favor of Resolution 030718-2026 to approve Pine Mountain Club user fee changes to equestrian horsemanship lessons and clinics, effective immediately.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I would like to motion a 5-minute break before proceeding.
Recess, just recess.
Recess, that's what I meant,
You just do
that
it.
word.
You just do it.
That's what I meant. I'm just doing it, I'm not even motioning. Let's just, everyone, take a 5-minute break for the benefit of our directors and anyone in the audience who also needs one. We shall reconvene shortly. Thank you.
Charter member of the Iron Bladder Club. I don't
directors. Thank you so much.
The lease, the half lease situation, I think might be possible also.
Oh, dang it.
I have to work on it.
What kind of horse? Yeah.
You can
Walker.
maybe mention it at adjournment.
At the barn I used to work at, I would ride at, I would regularly exercise other people's horses, and I don't think it was that.
Hold on. Return.
I can only have family now.
Re-adjourning, I think we are missing a single director, so let's give him a moment before we.
He ran out. I think he's going potty.
See, that's a problem when once you stop in the middle, whenever.
Yeah, he got caught in conversations.
He did.
The executive one, so, just a moment.
So I love horses. I just can't afford them.
I'm getting me one.
It's cold.
It's cold?
I feel freezing.
Oh, no, you're right.
It's all your fault.
Well, that too. No, that house.
Turn the music on, George.
Better than when we had the heater on that one day.
Oh, true.
Okay, we have everyone present. Let's reconvene.
Do it. Here we go. Motion. In the ocean. Motion to approve the Board of Directors and Committee Members Code of Ethics Policy.
Second.
All right, second by Randall. Discussion. I know that Debbie had some items she would like addressed. Debbie,
Yes. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Let me start with my first question. The policy does not mention non-committee members attending committee meetings. How will we address their conduct?
in response to the boundaries placed on committee members regarding confidentiality, I'm assuming that's what you're inquiring about.
Yes, and overall, because, right, we have members that attend meetings as guests. So will they be held to the same ethical standards as an official committee member?
They, according to this document, they would not be held to the same standards, but at the same time, I don't think highly confidential information would be discussed when guests that are non-committee members are present. I'm thinking, however, of a good analogy we can use is budget and finance. Randall has explained that members of the committee are given line-by-line budgets, whereas guests get a summary. Is that correct? I'm just trying to think of an analogy where something like this could.
There could be some background communication even with the committee that isn't discussed in the open meeting.
Yes.
In other words, there is definitely, not everything is presented, and something might be informative, but not actually where a guest wouldn't actually be able to see the same level of detail as a committee member. So
Exactly.
I believe that would be appropriate too. The chair of the committee ensure that they're managing information properly, and that if there's guests on Zoom or something in the room, then they can watch and observe, but they're not voting members, so they don't require the same amount of information.
And Debbie, since it is out of the purview of this Code of Ethics, which is for committee members and board members, if that's something that you would like addressed more clearly as we revise our Article 19, Common Rules of All Committees, that is absolutely some input we can take to make clear the parameters around confidential information. I don't think there's a lot of confidential information personally that is shared in committee meetings,
And
if any.
and I think I was thinking more of in the Budget and Finance Committee and possibly governing docs, but yes, we can address that during, like you just said,
Okay,
when we're talking about Article 19.
okay, excellent.
Okay, so my other question, in the section on misrepresentation, it states that no director shall post statements or information pertaining to the association's business on any internet or social media channel without prior written board consent. I'm assuming that means when they are speaking on behalf of the board versus expressing a personal opinion, but it doesn't state that clearly.
I would agree with you, and we would of course have the option of making a change to this document before it's approved, but what our legal counsel has, by the way, for everyone's general knowledge, this was prepared by our legal team. This is not a document written by a board member. And according to our legal counsel, the issue at hand occurs when a director speaks as a board member or for the board about association business. It does not remove their right to free speech as a member and as an individual sharing their personal opinions. So California law protects that. We have, of course, the option of adding clarifying language to this document to make that more black and white, because in no way is anyone looking to limit the free speech of individuals. It is an attempt to make them aware that speaking for the board or providing an approval, with a caveat that be amended, we have the ability to, I wouldn't want to change any of the language provided by our counsel, but we can add a disclaimer for clarification so that board members aren't targeted for sharing personal opinions that are not communicated as official board positions. So if we approve it, I think the way to go about it at this point would be to motion that caveat, and we can have a second and a discussion on that change, or that addition rather, not that change, but an addition, if you would like.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion to add clarification in the misrepresentation section so that it clearly states when speaking on behalf of the board versus a personal opinion.
I have language, because you were able to send these to me ahead of time, I was able to do some additional work, and I do have language that would clarify that we can add to your motion if you choose to adopt it. Nothing herein prohibits a director from expressing a personal opinion, provided the director does not represent that such opinion reflects the position of the board or disclose confidential information.
I like that.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I forgot to get a second before I started rambling.
I know.
All right, Tom seconded your motion to amend. Hold on one second.
And are we adding this as an entirely separate motion, or are we
No, so we're just,
approving the policy with?
I'll lead us through it. I've gone over what you're about to ask.
Okay.
So for now, the current motion being discussed is the motion to amend by addition of a disclaimer, position below the legal language. Tom seconded that. Before we approve the overall policy, I'd like to open up discussion on that specific amendment. So any discussion?
Can you reread the
Yes.
proposed language, please?
And this can be edited, it's not set in stone. Nothing herein prohibits a director from expressing a personal opinion, provided the director does not represent that such opinion reflects the position of the board, or disclose confidential information.
One suggestion, could we add a committee member to that? Because this is covering both.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yes, no director or committee member, and then I can add position of the board or committee.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a quick point of order. You need to actually make an amendment to the amendment. You need to actually motion an amendment to the amendment reflecting that.
Thank you. Duly noted.
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
I motion that the proposed amendment be amended to add language addressing that it relates to directors and committee members.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mark, all right, give me a second to write this down,
Third
please.
amendment, right?
1 second.
He just gave you a second.
Oh, hold on.
Madison's right.
Poor
Does
Madison.
it look like I?
Poor Madison. Who seconded? Mark. Mark. Okay. So we are now on to the amendment of the amendment.
This is one paragraph of approving, don't worry. Okay, we'll deal with it later.
Yeah, I shall
You
help
want
you.
them to read back my amended?
I'm going to. So the current motion on the floor, before we move backwards and approve the policy as a whole, is the amended amendment as follows. Nothing herein prohibits a director or committee member from expressing a personal opinion, provided the director or committee member does not represent that such opinion reflects the position of the board or committee, or disclose confidential information.
Sounds good.
Any additional discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment to the amendment?
Aye.
I,
The amendment to the amendment carries. Now,
motions.
we shall move backwards and forwards at the same time to the overall policy. Is there any additional
Now
discussion?
you have to,
We have to
now you have to
vote on the amendment.
approve the amendment.
I think we just did.
Nope, we voted.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the initial,
No, the amended amendment.
Amended amendment.
I thought that's literally what we just did.
No, we just approved the.
That's what we did.
We approved the amendment to the amendment. Now we're approving the amendment.
As it is amended.
Oh my gosh, okay. All those in favor of approving the amended amendment to the policy?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Debbie, was that you as well? Okay, got it.
That's right.
Motion carried for the amended amendment to the policy. Now, let's enter back into discussion for our original motion. Is there any further discussion on the policy itself? Okay. Because I did include this for members, member feedback is welcome. This is not something we would necessarily adjust according to member feedback, but if anyone would like to share their personal opinion or gratitude for this code of ethics, you may do so. Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the Board of Directors and committee members' Code of Ethics policy as amended?
However
Aye.
many times.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, thank you.
Okay, then. Onward. Motion. Let's keep this one just simple. Is that cool? Okay. No, Jim.
Point of order?
No. What? Yes?
I've been told that people live streaming this have lost sound.
What?
Here. Thank you, Jim.
We're doing our best
Appreciate that.
on that.
That's odd, because I'm not seeing that on the,
I mean, neither.
I just got a text.
so usually they say it here first, so chances are your friend may have sound issues on their end.
Direct.
Thank you for letting us know, regardless. Okay.
We're good?
Oh, yeah, it's there. So we have sound.
Okay.
Ask them to check their device.
Batteries.
Okay, Madison.
All right. Motion to approve the ABC license edition of Debbie Bailey and the removal of former board members Candace Bennett, Joshua Arman, Mark Bailey, and Douglas Wild.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so I heard Mark first. This is, the only reason there's a single edition is because last year they had blanket board members going through this process of live scan, and it's not required. It only needed to be officers, and we clarified that this year. So we're removing the excessive addition of directors last year and only adding the new officer. Discussion. Okay. Did you have a question, Mark?
No, you just
Oh,
answered.
that was it, okay. All those in favor of approving the motion to approve the ABC license edition of Debbie Bailey and the removal of former board members?
Aye.
Right. Motion carries. Thank you.
Motion to rescind approval to designate Best Alliance Foreclosure and Lien Services Corp. as agent for association, to authorize non-judicial foreclosures on APN numbers for Exhibit, quote, A1, 6/5/2026 from last month's open board meeting on 6/20/2026.
Second.
Second by Randall. Just some quick clarification. Items like this would normally not be on our open agenda. We received clarification from Best Alliance that all foreclosure approval and discussion, it's a rare category that only happens in exec. However, the previous agenda, where the motion that we are motioning to rescind was approved in open. So this rescission, therefore, follows as something that we need to do in open. And the background on the motion to rescind these foreclosures is to allow the association a period of time to potentially resolve these properties headed to foreclosure prior to that process in order to avoid a costly repetitive cycle. We are working on finding solutions. So, discussion. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, just, there was nothing in my board packet that provided me with information on this
That's
directly.
because it was an executive. Yeah, so I can go over the details of that with you.
Oh, no,
But the
then I-
good news is that by rescinding it, the board is not taking any action, but I will clarify with you where you would find that information.
Oh, no, so this is referencing back to what was in the executive session. Got it.
Yes.
'Cause I was looking,
And going forward, this will always happen in exec, it was,
I was looking for a new document and it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor of motion to rescind approval to designate Best Alliance Foreclosure and Lien Services Corp. for non-judicial foreclosures on APN numbers listed in Exhibit A1.
Aye. Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
All right. We did receive the environmental control recap for the month of June 2026, and we received patrol recap for the month of June 2026 as well. The board did receive 9 items of correspondence. We're now on to Directors Forum. I will go first for the Bear Committee. We meet on the first Monday of the month at 5 p.m. We do have an email address for the Bear Ambassador. It is, get your pencils ready, Bear Support, BEARSUPPORT, at pmcpoa.com.
Their support.
Yeah, Bear Support. We were gonna write out Bear Ambassador, but I thought a lot of people might spell ambassador wrong. So we changed it.
Their support.
And very funny, in Outlook, it shortens it to BS. Yeah, so, you know, it's perfect. Bear Support at pmcpoa.com. So email our Bear Ambassador with any questions or concerns you might have about bear issues, or if you've had a bear break-in, because she has tons of resources, and she will help you and give you advice, and maybe even come to your house and help you if you've had a bear break-in, and support you in helping you repair things or give you advice on how to do so. So that resource is up and running. She does have a broken toe, so there may be some
Maybe not
limitation.
literally running,
Yeah, we're waiting for the
but
toe to
walking.
be repaired. Yeah,
With her then.
yeah. So send healing vibes to the broken toe. Yeah, it is healing.
Very good.
We only have 2 members also, and a husband in the wings, willing to join, so that we don't have to shut down our committee. But we do need members. Again, we're like a very supportive group trying to help the community. So please, if you're interested, we had a couple of people who teased us a bit, and we're like, yeah, we're good to come, and then they didn't, and that was a bummer. So if you're interested, you care about the bears, you care about wildlife, you want to help, please show up and see what we're about. The first Monday at 5, we would love help. We're currently working on a campaign to better educate STR owners. We're noticing a trend there. So whether that's like updating materials to give STR owners to give to their clients, and just make sure that they're really bear aware. So that's what we're working on now. And they're already preparing for the next community events to have a booth, whatever those events are. They're so excited to volunteer for that. Not me so much, but the other 2. They're very excited. So I think that's all the updates for Bear Committee. And then next we have Director Randall Gates for Budget and Finance.
As I mentioned, the committee was dark due to lack of a quorum.
Oh, dang it.
Unfortunately, Cliff's medical conditions, we've lost a long-term member. But at the same time, even though it wasn't a quorum, we spent basically the full 2 hours with James there walking through and had a pretty vigorous, useful discussion, especially on dealing with these increasing number of assessments in arrears, but different ways to drill down on the information and segment it, and you can't have one decision that fits all of them, which was the reason for retracting that foreclosure. So yeah, it was dark, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of Communications and Liaison Zelinski, I think I only really, yeah.
Sorry, everyone, the agenda was not updated because. But Mark Blethen is now the Communications Board Liaison, and he was there. And I attended as well, so I can fill in if there's anything you don't remember. But we shall pass the mic.
I'm going to put that in the director's forum. Mark Blethen, new liaison. Go for it.
So, yeah, I was able to attend the Communications Committee meeting on Tuesday, and just a couple things to bring out of it. The Condor seasonal newsletter went out both in a hard copy and in an electronic form, but apparently there seems to be some discrepancy on whether people were getting it or not in either form, and they're working on figuring that out. Maybe it's a mailing list issue, but they're working to resolve that. I know that I didn't get it, so I know that, and I'm not opted out on any list, so something was up, but that's going to be resolved. A couple other things. The committee is small. The 2 people actively working on it, and they're doing a lot of work, and they could definitely use more members to come out and be part of that. And do that. They're doing some other really good things other than the Condor seasonal. There's some work ongoing on revising the new member packets So a new member handbook that goes out when we purchase our homes. There was a lot of redundancy in there and things that weren't as clear. And so there's some work going on getting that done, which it was a lot of work, and that was really Lauren doing the lion's share of that at this point. And I will say that they are looking for people for the next Condor seasonal newsletter to write articles about special interest topics that have come up within the community in the interim. So things like if, the Wine in the Pines, if someone would want to write an article, submit that to the committee, and then they can get that published, or whatever you think is important to actually, kind of highlight the things that are going on in our community regularly. So, yeah, other than that, the next meeting, I believe, is on, I want to say it's like the 4th of...
Second Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, it was like the 4th of August is the next one, I think. Sounds like, yeah. So that's when they'll meet. So if you've got those articles, get them into them by then.
And I believe so you could submit them to the committee, but I believe they can also be submitted to marketing@pmcpoa.com, and then the committee will review them. But either form of submission would be good.
Okay, thank you. We'll skip Director Coulter. Director Schoening for Environmental Control.
Let's see what's dark.
Okie dokie. General Manager Williams for Family Resource Ad Hoc Committee.
Also dark.
Oh dear. Oh no. Director Randall Gates for Governing Documents.
Also dark.
Oh my gosh. Who's doing Greens and Grounds?
It's James for now, but moving forward, it will be Debbie. No, I'm sorry, Debbie's doing CPOA. So it's
Okay.
James for now, and then moving forward, it will be either James and someone else. I'm going to support him with the director in the chance that he's not able to attend.
Okay.
Okay, Greens and Grounds Committee met on July 10th at 09. Water management of critical areas is in progress. Mentioned 12,600 gallons per day versus 80,000 in the past.
Whoa.
Utilizing a map of stress areas, so strategically focusing on water management. Per Mike Pierce, the manager of Greens and Grounds, hot spots are hit, then he checks saturation, and that's a very busy job that he has there, checking the hot spots. In August, they're going to be punching fairways 3, 6, 7, and 8. Great results from June after punching the greens. The greens look great. Adopt a hole was suggested as a new concept program, which would invite volunteers to help augment the current work being done per hole, kind of like the Adopt a Highway thing that, goes on. But I right after the meeting, I wrote a draft and submitted it to the chair, David Gardner, and he's going to put it on the agenda for the next meeting for discussion and details. They also discussed additional no walking signs, no trespass to mitigate injury. The RV gate is damaged from some work that was done, not by us. So the maintenance manager's assessing it for a solid repair job on that. Ball field sign has been restored by our own Ezekiel Echeverri. He's done just all this amazing work, woodwork. I have a photo, it'll be in the recap. It's just amazing. I've seen that sign. It was very bad, very old, at least 10, 20 years old, and it just looks incredibly just beautiful, unreal.
Oh, I've seen
unreal.
that. I
So-
play softball.
Oh.
We love it.
Oh, you've seen it? Yeah, yeah. It's
really beautiful.
It looks brand new. And he's our in-house guy. He does a lot of that. So, very much appreciate you, Zeke. Great job. And that's it.
Thank you. I guess we'll skip Coulter. Director Nicole Gates for Planning Committee.
Planning Committee was dark.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and who's doing Mill Petro Water?
I am. It will be Mark in the future, but it was
Okay.
kind of last minute, so I filled in for him. Most important item, and I hope this gets shared as much as possible, is that they did not, like typical every single year, they did not meet their quorum. So voting has been extended till August 15th, and we need members to please submit their ballots to Mill Potrero for their board of directors by August 15th so that they may have a quorum. Aside from that, reports for the newest well. Forgive me because my notes are at home on a different notepad, but I believe it was well number 10 is the newest well near the pool is up and running beautifully. The board also discussed their plans for providing power to wells in the case of emergencies. This current well has a generator installed, and some of their wells positioned at areas where gravity does not work in their favor are also permanent, but they have portable generators that can be used in the event of an emergency that would leapfrog in order to allow water to go against gravity for the homes above their tanks. So they discussed that for a bit. They also discussed water quality, and their water quality is pretty incredible. Even when there's a slight issue, for example, one of the older wells has a tiny amount of arsenic in it. They go through such processes that even prior to it being filtered, it's already, well below federal limits. And I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but it's quite impressive. So they have a process where they blend water from each tank before it then enters their final process for purification. Additionally, that is one of the other things that I wanted to know about that pivoted into what planning is tracking, but we were curious about their current water restriction decisions, and California is not in a drought, and they are not enforcing drought level restrictions, but they are still maintaining their general water restrictions in an effort to conserve year-round. So the same level of restrictions that they had for recent times are still in effect. And by the way, it was really interesting and informative. They're an incredible company. They have amazing employees. The board is lovely and interesting, and it was kind of fun. I have to admit it. So you're going to like it, Mark. But please vote.
Just quick question, if, asking for a friend, if you didn't vote and you realized after the fact that you missed the date and then you tossed your ballot, and then they extended the date, is there a way to still vote?
My suggestion would be to email them on their website. There's a contact us email thingy, and you can also visit in person during their business hours. Mary, spelled Merry, she is their office manager.
Okay.
And she will most likely provide anyone who accidentally threw away their
friend.
My friend too.
Yes, they want your vote, so I believe they will provide you with what you need in order to receive it. Yeah, replacement ballot. There we go. Thank you, Randall, for the language.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't know, so Debbie.
Debbie will be on that going forward, but I believe the most recent meeting you attended, because the newest one isn't until next week.
Pine Mountain Club Commercial Property Owners Association?
Yeah, so maybe they moved it, that's what happened. Okay, so let's not worry about it. They're not meeting until next week, and James already updated us. I think their meeting date may have been moved.
Yeah.
So he already updated us last month, and they haven't met again yet. So I will go in place of Debbie, or James or I will go.
I like that.
But she will be taking that over as we move forward.
All righty. Okay, members' rebuttal forum. The members' rebuttal forum is a 10-minute period that follows the director's forum, offering members the opportunity to briefly respond to any matter raised by a director. Each speaker will be given up to 1 minute to share their thoughts. Members wishing to speak are kindly asked to step up to the microphone, address the board chair, and state their name, tract, and lot number for the record. While the board might not respond immediately, all comments will be respectfully noted.
Gail Carroll Co., 3580881. I just want to make a correction, Mark. Our meeting for communications was on the second Tuesday because Lauren had something going on the first, so it's always been the first Tuesday.
That was my mistake, yeah. I think you had it. Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to clarify that, just for the members that were on Zoom.
Perfect, thank you. So I don't know if the mic picked her up very well, but Gail was clarifying that communications usually meets on the first Tuesday, and I believe it's at 4:30.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
All right, then. Anybody else? No. All right, adjournment.
Adjourn.
Almost. In the June 20th, 2026 executive session at 8:30 a.m., the following was discussed. No litigation. 1 contract was discussed and 1 contract was approved in open. No forbearances, no liens. 1 hearing was discussed. Foreclosures for the following APN numbers were discussed and approved. 328-023-01009 and 328-092-15004, and foreclosures for Exhibit A1652026, which we did rescind today. Okay, there were 0 appeals, 0 personnel issues. There were 3 items of director information and correspondence, one of which included 1 committee member discussion. The next regular open board meeting will take place on August 15th, 2026 at 10 a.m. in the Condor Room. Motion to adjourn.
Would you like to second it, Mark?
I wanted to make it.
Second.
All right. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.